You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, we are close to October, like days away. And September kind of came and went. It is officially Libra season. Like we're in Libra season. We're in fall. Okay. Like I was already in fall, but the hood calendar, everything in between, it is officially fall. It is officially Libra season. And, we're on a high over here. This has been, a great, kick off the fall. Like this past weekend, I'm full of just enthusiasm. I'm excited. I'm excited about this week because I began teaching 2 new courses in addition to the 2 courses I'm already teaching at CCP. I'm teaching a new course, which is my public speaking virtual course that is like a completely online asynchronous course that is finally launching. I have over 35 students or something like that that's enrolled. And the reason why I can't take a bunch more because I have to grade all these speeches. So we are at the maximum. Okay. We're only taking 35 and 35 have already enrolled. There is an ability for them to pull out. There is a wait list. I guess a lot of people want Professor Owens this semester, but that's happening. I have a new course that I'm teaching in person, which is a writing and reporting for media course, which is a very full introductory journalism course that I'm excited to finally teach in person. I have tweaked it in a way that the curriculum is set with my own practices. So there is conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion in media and understanding the media landscape, also updated in a way that it's talking about the current matters in journalism compared to what these various editions and textbooks have done. There are no textbooks in my course because I just feel like the textbook can't explain journalism the way that I can as someone in the space. And with the students that I teach, a lot of the students in my class are Black and brown students. So I am teaching journalism in a way that is applicable to their experiences and what they will encounter in this industry. So it allows me to really teach the course in a way that no one else can teach it, on CCP's campus, in my opinion. I am probably the only active, full-time, actual journalist professor. Let me clarify that. Journalist that is also a professor, right? There are journalism professors and there are journalists who are also professors. I am the only journalist who is also a professor that is teaching this type of course on the campus. And so the students, of course, are going to want to have me teach them. But of course, because they're going to ask me questions that I can give them answers to. And there's no shade. Let me be very clear. No shade to anybody else teaching it. But these are the type of unique experiences that students want. Even when I was at Penn, there were courses that I took, not really any journalism courses, but comms courses that I took. And there were times where I was like, okay, I know you studied the theory of this, and that is great, okay, because theory matters, right? We do have to do research. But you need to make it applicable, especially for students who are looking to enter the field. And so a lot of my actual applicable information knowledge did not come from Penn in the classroom. It actually came from internships that I took during the semester that supplemented the courses that I was taking. And that made it, a more enriching experience. But if I did not have semester internships that complemented what I was learning in the classroom, I think I would have had a lot of problematic understandings about the industry. And I think that's why a lot of my peers in the industry do, because they are kind of, the book says this, the book says this. This is not what I learned in class. And it's like, yeah, but the people that wrote the book, the people that advised the text, they're not really teaching it in this modern era. So there are no textbooks in my class. There are readings that are relevant. There are some authors and journalists and people in the practitioner space. There are institutions and organizations like Pointer and others that I am an AP, Associated Press, and other credible outlets that are also having modern day, current, contemporary insight. But those are readings that I think will be better for the students. So, if you are academic or a professor or a scholar, you're probably like, oh, I love you, Ernest. You're teaching the people. Listen, this is what we got to do. You just cannot do everything by the book. Some things do, right? Like if you are somebody that's taking intro to biology and the sciences per se, yeah, there are some things that you need to understand about, the day to day. But when it comes to this journalism in the modern era, we're going to be having some very deep conversations. Like the way in which people talk about objectivity, I hate that term because it's not a realistic understanding of journalism in the modern era. People always use the word objective as a gotcha for reporters like myself and others who do this work, but objectivity is subjective. There is subjectivity in objectivity. You get what I mean? Like, the idea of objectivity is to tell a person, can they be able to interview a source or a person and completely erase any personal biases, any personal connections or personal experiences that shape the story? A robot can do objective, things. Humans are not objective. We cannot be objective. That is a very abstract concept that does not apply to human beings, right? And the reason why I say this is that people show up and how they receive the information, how information is even given to them from the source will even be subjective. So a source can tell you something and how you receive it is going to be different based on your gender, your race, your age, your regionality. Like, it's no way that you can receive the information and transcribe and interpret it in a particular manner because of just human nature. So the idea of journalists being objective is impossible because sources are not objective, right? We see this with the current president of the United States, the way that he talks to certain reporters, the way that he gives certain information. That will actually change the way in which they report that information based on those experiences. Even newsrooms, even editors, right? If you're in an all-white, predominantly white newsroom, right, your editor will pick and choose what stories you report on based on your gender. There's a whole lot of research about how, like, there was a bias in how women were not allowed to report on sexual abuse crimes in coverage because they thought that women cannot be objective, quote unquote, on covering it. The problem is, by having a bunch of men cover those cases where we know that many of those incidents impact women, there was a gender bias in the way that rape cases and sexual assault cases were covered. Did y'all know that? You didn't probably know that. Now you know. So when I hear people say, aren't you a journalist? Shouldn't you be objective? Do you actually know what the fuck that means? You don't. Because you don't even understand how journalism works. Media literacy in this country is at an all-time low. So when you hear people try to weaponize these terms, they actually don't realize that they're actually weaponizing the very terms that actually don't actually help them with the coverage. Because a lot of you all will say, we need more people in our communities, people from the community telling our stories. Well, technically, the way that objectivity was defined in a very colonialist, white supremacist type of framework, because the people that use that term, objective, were often cisgender, white Christian men that wanted to have a domination over news coverage. Objectivity was what they used to justify not diversifying their newsrooms. Yeah, come take my course. Some of y'all, come take my course, because a lot of you all don't actually know what you're talking about. And even our young journalists that are coming into the business don't even understand what they're covering because the framing has been off. That's why I am a badass journalist. That's why I'm great at what I do, because I have a real wiring and understanding and education about this that is a lot of your favorite journalists don't even do. Them CNN, New York Times, some of them, like, the reason why a lot of them suck or they don't do what they're doing correctly because they're still under this white supremacist, colonialist, predominantly white newsroom structure that is actually hurting the way people are receiving news. So, for example, a lot of people say they want the people covering their communities to reflect those people in their neighborhoods, which makes sense because there's a level of education, lived experience that will shape the way that people will get to the heart of a story without there being problems, right? The problem is that these predominantly white newsrooms are telling their reporters, oh, you can't cover that story because we think you're going to be biased. They're telling Black reporters not to cover Black Lives Matter, not to cover racial uprisings, because they're saying to them, we think you might be biased. But the double standard is they will never tell white reporters, do not cover this incident pertaining to white people, because white people's issues in newsrooms are considered to be mainstream and the default. And so that is why you don't see Black reporters covering in Black communities, because their white news editors and directors often tell them that that actually will show bias. But they never say that to the white reporters that have to cover middle America or cover these predominantly white neighborhoods in rural areas. There is a double standard and bias. There's no objectivity in the pursuit of objective journalism, which is why we don't use that word. So people ask me, well, what do you use, Ernest? I use fair. I use balanced. Fair and balanced coverage. Were you fair, right? In fairness, we can teach people fairness. We can teach people how to consider various sides of a story in a way that is responsible and ethical, right? Ethical journalism, fair journalism, balanced journalism, right? So balance in the sense of, are we making sure that we're allowing various perspectives to cover an issue, not because, we got to consider both sides, because even the conversation on both sides, what do we mean exactly by both sides? Do we give a white supremacist that is spreading misinformation equal footing to someone who's spreading credible information? Like, we got to assess that. And that's where the ethics come into. Because if you just simply say balanced, the assumption is that everybody gets a mic. And the reality is, not everybody deserves a mic because we have bad faith actors. So discernment and ethics of recognizing that. And a lot of these majority predominantly white newsrooms do not understand that. That is why coverage, the way that we cover certain administrations are wrong. The way that we cover elections are bad, because we oftentimes think that giving people 50-50 or giving them equal footing to say what they're saying will not cause harm. It's actually irresponsible and it lacks ethics, because if you know there is someone using a platform to spread misinformation and your job as a journalist is to give credible information, then you platform credible voices with the accurate information. And you can find that from various political spectrums, but understand that you do not give equal weight to propaganda, which is often happening. That is why these CNN shows, a lot of these shows are problematic, because we don't have a set focus on balance and ethics. And that is the issue with our newsrooms right now, is because there's not a lot of credible, balanced, fair reporting that considers lived experience and lean into it. Diversity is not a detriment. It's not. It's to be desired, actually. It should be desired. It's something desirable. And I think that's the problem, is that people are treating it as a detriment rather than something that's desirable. It actually provides an actual better lens of thinking and focus. And we're not seeing enough of that. So I can't wait to teach this course, as you can tell. I've been waiting for this. I've been working on my curriculum for the entire summer. I've been working on reworking a lot of information that was given to me about the course. And I said, I got to go. I need some time to go in here and do some real facelift. So this course has a new, complete, total facelift in what my predecessors have taught. So they're going to be in for a treat. So I just am in awe of this weekend for the Emerging Media Diversity Convention, which was a total blast. It was a success. There is a level of cloud nine-ness that I'm not going to probably be able to get down for probably the rest of the year. I am just full of total gratitude to all of you all who came out, all the dozens and dozens and dozens of you who gave us your weekend. Because I know it was CBC weekend, Congressional Black Caucus weekend, all that. We'll talk later about that in the podcast. But this was dope. I mean, the turnout was incredible. The impact was felt. I got so many of you all who sent me so many letters, videos. I've gotten a chance to really, take it all in. I got this lovely note from a young lady who is pretty new to industry. Her name is Amber, and she wrote me this really nice note. I'm going to read it because it just really was touching. It was handwritten. We love a good handwritten letter. And she wrote, I like her handwriting. She wrote it in all caps. I shared it on Instagram over the weekend, but she said, Ernest, I always think back to the day I left my comfort zone and introduced myself to you. Since that day, I have experienced many open doors and invitations to rooms I didn't know existed. Thank you so much for all that you've done for me and my growth. I hope to continue to show you that I will rise to every occasion and make sure your belief in me is never wasted. Take radical care, Amber. Thank you for that. It's such a nice card. It's very nice. And it was just a lot of that this weekend. A lot of, emerging media professionals and journalists showed up. The first night was at Community College of Philadelphia. The first night was at CBS Philadelphia, CBS News Philadelphia. All my Philadelphias and my C's. We were at the CBS Philadelphia studios in Spring Garden, and that's not too far, right across the street from Community College of Philadelphia. So the first night we had the reception, and it was so nice. I mean, we had Errol Barnett, who is the co-anchor of CBS This Morning, national correspondent. He is the first Black British anchor on television. Yes, Black and British. Got Jamaican roots. His mother, I believe, is British. His father's Jamaican. And if you ever seen him, he looks good. He's a good looking anchor. He's, in person, it's like you see people on TV and they're like, they look all Hollywood, but then you meet them in person, you're like, wow, okay. He is incredible. He won the PABJ President's Award, which of course, I'm the president of PABJ. And so we honored him with that. We honored some incredible other honorees, Morgan Parrish from Fox 39, Marcella Beato, Khalil Bullock, Josh, my good friend, my lit brother, Josh Moore from Josh Eats Philly. And also Dr. Alicia Marshall, who's interim president at CCP. All were honorees. Everyone was there. We had Miss Dawn's Catering. Keep It Cordial did the cocktails. And it was a great gathering. It was so many people that were just touched and moved. And what was really interesting was to see my students and see a lot of the young people that were there, because they were just shell-shocked. Like, they were shocked to be in a space like that. That was their first time being in a news studio room. They'd never been in a newsroom before. They'd never been like a studio like that before. Some of them, that was their first time ever going to a reception that was at that level, and, like an open bar, because everybody had to be 21 and up. So these were all my older, my seniors and older, but they were just taken aback. They were like, wow, this is really nice. And some of them felt a little underdressed, and I told them, I said, look, come, dress to impress, I say this, all that. And some of them really were like, oh, and one student, one of my good friends was there. She was in the bathroom and she kind of felt a little anxious and a little intimidated at first, and kind of felt, a little overwhelmed initially, because she just didn't expect all of these people to be there. And she shared with my friend that, she knew it was going to be a reception, an opening mixer, but she didn't think it was going to be this nice. That she, go to little events, but, never this nice. And my good friend told her, the people in the room are waiting to meet you. They want to meet you where you are. They want to have a good time. Don't feel pressure. We're all here. And that calmed her down. And she came out that bathroom And she just had a different type of energy, and she just felt excited. And even one of my other students, they felt underdressed. I said, it's okay. Like, just come. The fact that you're even here, you're shaking hands, you're making connections, it's all right. We got tomorrow. And in many ways, I have to tell you, I kind of did this on purpose. Not so much the intent to make them feel uncomfortable, whatever, but that I wanted to not have it in one day, because I wanted people to be able to feel relaxed, to come in, get a scale scope of the expectations, and then they'll be able to rise to the occasion next day. So some of them felt a little standoffish, but they felt warmed up by the end of the event. A lot of them, this was their first time ever going to a reception. Is nice. This was their first time. And a lot of them are 22 years old, 21. And I remember, my first event, fancy event at Penn, it was a scholarship event. And I went, now I always, I'm a little, everybody's backgrounds is different. I always came suited and booted. Sometimes I used to come overdressed because I used to feel like everything was that, but I would rather be overdressed than underdressed. But I recognize that we're dealing with students in a community college. We're dealing with students where we're meeting them where they are, where for so many of them, they've never had this type of exposure. And so many of them were surprised by the food. They were like, wow, like we're eating this tonight. They just really felt in a sense of surprise by just the level of seriousness of the event. And I'm going to tell you why I'm saying it like this, because so many of them came to me the second day, and I can't wait to just share that part. But just the first day, a lot of them were just in a state of shock of just how nice things were, the people that were there, folks that they had seen on TV, people that they were like, wow, you're the owner, you're the general manager, you're the president of this. Like, it was just, a lot of it was overwhelming for them, but that was how they felt in the beginning. So at first they were like, at the very beginning, a little shy. They were spending a lot of time at the bar, which I was like, don't get drunk now. But they were spending some time, kind of talking amongst themselves. Then after we got to the award ceremony, when they heard these people's acceptance speeches and they told their stories and their journeys, they felt more, the people resonated to them. They're like, wow, I have a similar experience. I know what it's like to lose a loved one. I know what it's like to feel doubted. And they began to warm up. And so that second half of the reception, I began to see them follow note people, shaking hands. Some of these people said, I told everybody, these people are going to be at the job fair tomorrow. So you better show up. There's going to be professional headshots. Don't miss out. So the next day, they come suited, y'all. They were like dressed to impress. I was like, whoa, okay. Like, they came ready. And they felt even more relaxed because they saw all these same media professionals, all these journalists, all these big names that saw them the night before, and they came ready. They came correct. And it was just nothing like seeing my students, Black, Latino, all these students come ready, come hungry, come determined to make their mark, to see people. And each of them walked away. Like, even one of the students, actually, who was there the first night, she went up to the news director at CBS and just said, look, I've been interested in TV. I think I want to do producing. The news director was like, you want to come see, you want to come and see our control room? Gave her a full tour of the control room, gave her business card and said, let's keep in touch. They were shook. But excited. That second day, they came ready to slay. Dressed up, haircuts. Look, some people got some of the girls got the hair done a little extra. So I was surprised, but also impressed. But also said, this is what happens when you create a space where you tell young people, I take you seriously. If you take them seriously, they will take themselves seriously. I really believe that, because that was my experience. When people gave a fuck about me, I gave a fuck about it. We gave a fuck about these kids. They showed up. They were ready because they saw that we took them seriously. And so to every panelist, to every journalist, to every PR person, to everybody who came in that room, everybody in there showed these emerging media professionals, the next generation, that we take them seriously, that we're listening to them, that we have something to offer them. And they walked away feeling empowered, like, wow, Yuki Washington told me I can do it. Wow, that general manager told me, here's her personal call, here's her number, and to hit her up they got contacts and resources that even I myself at their age had to hustle and go and navigate through. But because of my experience, it told me years later, I want to create that. If I can get the resources together to make this happen, I would. This was 5 years in the making. I went through various schools, tried to figure out how to coordinate, how to get sponsorships, how to get support, navigating through the pandemic and all the politics with that. And here we are in 2025 at a time like this on a campus like CCP to bring this event, to do this there at this moment. It doesn't get any better than that. And so my sense of gratitude was to see all of these incredible young journalists and media professionals get the resources, get the connection, feel validated. I mean, there were some that were in their mid-30s, early 30s, around my age, that just said that this inspired them to keep going. Some of them, there was a young lady, look at me saying young lady, but it was a young lady who was in her early 20s. She saw me speak on a virtual at the University of North Carolina. I spoke on a panel. A professor there saw me somewhere, called me, asked me, can I come talk to her students virtually? I did it. This young lady saw me over a year ago, followed my social media, heard about this, drove all the way down from North Carolina, got a hotel room for 2 days, and came down to this convention because there was nothing like this where she lived. So it meant everything to me that she came to me and said this was so worth it. She made some good connections. She feels empowered. She feels inspired. She got headshots. She said the food was great. She said she felt heard and seen. And so these are the moments, right? These are the antidotes, the data, the things that we're going to come back. And we're going to do this even bigger and better. And the people, the sponsors, and the folks in that room who saw that, this was a pilot that blew expectations. They're coming back. And we're going to make this bigger. And what we was able to achieve this weekend, there was so many boundaries, so many barriers. This was honestly, I don't know if a lot of people know this. I don't know if I ever shared this, but this proposal was the catalyst to my breakup with NABJ. Because I wanted to do this in 2020, before the pandemic. This is like, I went to a conference for NABJ, and this was like it was a regional, some type of event. It was not a convention. It was not their convention this summer. It was like a summit they had. And I said, I want y'all to know that PABJ wants to do something like this, but we want to do a convention, but we want to do it specifically for younger professionals, because look, everybody can't go down to these conventions, spend all this money. And they said, well, we got to see what we going to do. And I said, wait, hold on, NABJ. I didn't ask you. I'm telling you. I didn't ask for your permission. I'm telling you what we're doing. This wasn't a request. This was a notice. And the president at the time, Dorothy Tucker, she cursed me out. Facts. She cursed me out. She told me that me doing this convention, my own thing, is a fuck you to NABJ. And I said, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that we have our own event. If you would like to work with us, we can talk about how we can collaborate if you're interested. But if you're not, that's cool too, because we're not working for you. We want to work with you. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Well, long story short, she calls. At that time, I was the vice president. I was the vice president of print for PABJ. Manny Smith, my good friend, was the president at the time. She called him that weekend, and there was several narratives about me being insubordinate, me being belligerent. It was a false narrative about that discussion. And pretty much she wanted to kill it. And at that time, the pandemic happens, and by default, there were no in-person conventions happening. So it kind of fell by the wayside. And then once we got back outside, there was new politics, because at that point I was dealing with at that point, PABJ and ABJ our relationship had even gotten further down the drain, and we separated and split. So that politics put a hindrance on me planning this. Then I was dealing with the politics of Temple and Penn, which I wanted to initially have it at my alma mater. I wanted to have it at Penn. I wanted to have it when then Dean at Annenberg School of Communications, John Jackson, Dr. John Jackson, who is Dr. John Jackson Jr., who is a mentor to me, who he's a great guy. He's a black man in comm. Like, we wanted to have it there, but then they had renovations. And then he ended up moving out of Annenberg and I think going to become provost. Now he's a provost now there. So all the politics and things shifted. Then Penn had its own drama. Then Temple had its own politics. And then you had folks which didn't want us to keep the word diversity in the title, which I was like, hold on. Emerging media diversity. We ain't taking the diversity out. So then I get the CCP. I teach. I build my relationships. And when I get the fellowship, which I got the fellowship, I got hired as a fellow at the end of December of last year. I start January. The moment I get there, I'm like, hey, I would love to make this happen. I have the resources. I just need the space. And amidst everything that was going on with CCP at the time, they said yes. And so I had not 107 days like Kamala Harris to pull off this idea, but I had a couple of months. And I had to get sponsors, I had to get funding. They came through with the venue and the space and the AC and some support, but I had to call people. I had to set the date, and I had to get the date that was available. I had to make phone calls. I had to coordinate some things, but I had to pull all these things together. And we did it. We did it. We did it. We did it. And I'm grateful for CCP. I'm grateful for Community College of Philadelphia. I'm grateful for CBS Philadelphia for believing in this. The Philly Download for being a sponsor. Our media partners, WRD. Tito's Handmade Vodka. Shout out to Tito's. Because the open bar would have not been possible without them. And you know I love a Cosmo. And they had an emerging Cosmo. We had an after party at Fringe Bar. Tito's came through. Shout out to Tito's. Tito's Handmade Vodka. Okay? Because they came through. Because y'all know how much liquor costs. Some of y'all do. But to have an open bar and to be able to have sponsored liquor and all you got to do is pay for the bartenders and coordinate that, man, shout out to Tito's. Forever grateful. Because everything was quality. Shout out to Details by Miss Dawn for the catering and for the food, for the quality of the food. Because everything about this event was on a higher quality. We didn't feed them. You know, our tickets were $50 for college students across the region. We were $100 for under 40. And everybody said there was value. They got professional headshots by the person that did my headshots. The food that I eat, they ate. Nothing about this was cheap. Nothing about this was skimp. I give them the quality that I want. Because I was like, if I'm not going to give people cold pizza and sub sandwiches, then if I don't want that at a conference, why would I give that to them? Now, let me say this. No shade to the people that got to do what they got to do. I'm not judging. But I wanted everything about this to be opulent because I want these students to not ever say they've never been in a room with power players, that I wanted to give them the actual development. That's part of career development so they can get the exposure, so they can know how to work a room, to shake hands and feel confident in themselves so that when they graduate with their associate's degree, when they transfer to that 4-year college institution, when they graduate and get their degree, that they can already know what it looks like to be in a room like that and never have imposter syndrome. So the last day they had imposter syndrome in a room was at that opening reception. Because the next reception they go to, they're going to feel confident. They're going to know how to dress. They're going to know how to show up. And they're never going to feel like they don't matter because they were validated in a room very early in their career in the ways in which I was. And now I pass it to them. That is how we do it. And so I am grateful. I am so excited. I am so motivated. And if you didn't get to go and you want to support the work that the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists is doing, you can go to thepabj.org. We have a donation tab, and you can donate whatever you want. Donations, gifts, as Dr. Parks will laugh and say. But if you would like to donate, we are a nonprofit. I don't get paid to do this work, by the way, y'all. Okay, so the people that be like, he just didn't get, I don't get paid. My board is 100% volunteer. We only have one part-time staffer. Well, shout out to my girl, Brittany Coleman, because she was the coordinator. She's the only person on our team that gets paid and compensated because she's staff, and she helps coordinate and do the logistics. But my entire team, we do not get paid for this. We do this out of a labor of love and because we care about it. We're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3. So if you got organizations and foundations that want to give money to us, they can, and it's tax deductible. We have a gala coming up November 15th. Saturday, November 15th, from 6 to 11. We're going to have a 90-minute open bar because y'all like to be on CPT time and come late. The happy hour is from 6 to 7:30. Okay? It's a 90-minute happy hour. Open bar, I mean. Cocktail hour. Happy hour, cocktail hour. It will be a wonderful array of food. There's going to be great food, great dining, open bar, lots of great libations, lots of great food, lots of great networking. Our galas are opulent. We're going to have at the Museum of American Revolution. Tickets are $175 for general members. Now, if you are a PABJ member, the tickets are only $125. But either way, all this money is going to go to support programs like our Emerging Media Diversity Convention, like our Media Access event that we're doing for the community for free that's going to be on November 20th, like our other events, networking events, our monthly meetings, our empowerment trainings, our academies, all of this great programming. This is where the money goes. It does not go in Mr. Owens' pocket. It does not go into this board's pocket. It goes into programming. That is how we're able to subsidize the costs to make it accessible and affordable. See, when you got people trying to hustle and profit, yeah, they make these tickets up. I know that what I gave people this weekend was way, way, way more than what they paid for. But because I wanted to make sure that our people were there, that our youth were there, this event was reduced on the scale to which it was subsidized because of contributions from donors like you. Thank you to everybody who's donated to PABJ. Support us, go to our events, buy those tickets, support our gala. This is where the money goes because the talent was in the building. To our keynote speakers and every panelist, everybody did this volunteer. Because if I had to pay for a keynote speaker, if I had to pay for all those things, I'm like the youth, right? So everybody showed up because they knew this was a labor of love. This was their community service to give back to the community. Look, everybody can't do it like I do it. I get it. But if you can volunteer your time to be on a panel, if you can volunteer that, that is going to make a difference and change a person's life. So for everybody who showed up and did that and continue to support us, this is how you do it. If you're listening and you have a company that wants to buy a full page ad or buy a table or buy tickets, hit me up, y'all. DM me. We're going to be promoting the event this Wednesday, October 1st. We're going to announce our honorees for our 2025 gala. We're already moving on to another era. The Emerging Media Diversity Convention is a wrap for this year. We're going to share some pictures and there's going to be some more buzz about it. But we are already ready for our gala because beginning November, right, the gala is going to be on and tickets are going to go on sale live on October 1st. We do sell out. All of our events sell out. Our convention sold out. Everything we do sells out. So do not wait. Do not think about it. Go grab your tickets. Show up. Turn up. Pour it up. But we're ready because I see some of y'all buying Cardi B tickets. I see some of y'all buying other tickets. This is an event you don't want to miss. Talent will be in the building, supporting a good cause. We're giving out scholarships this year. We got 2 big scholarships, 3 scholarships actually. We got 2 scholarships, 2 $2,500 scholarships going to a college student in a 4-year institution. And we're bringing back the community college scholarship, $1,500. That's right. $1,500 is going to an aspiring college student, a college senior, aspiring college senior, to a community college student, $1,500. And we don't tell the students where the money go. They use it for what they need to use it for, but that is going to go to them. And so this is going to be a great opportunity. So show up. I look forward to hearing from you. But that is, yeah, this is why we do what we do. This is why the work matters. So many people are out here playing into people's faces, wasting their time. Not here. Not here. So other things I did this week, I got a lovely seasonal facial from Ask Alish. That is in Chestnut. You know, my girl Ask Alish. Y'all saw the before and after pictures. Okay. I get my quarterly facial. And so it is fall, which means that it was time for me to get this face ready for fall. Every season, I tell you all, get a really serious, deep cleanse, deep dive facial. I mean, dermaplane, microdermabrasion, all the things. Get a really good facial. And if you're in Philadelphia, ask Alicia's a black queer woman owned, skincare shop that is in Chestnut Hill. She has her own storefront. She sells products, skincare products, and she does great facials. She does laser. She does everything. I did a really great facial. She even did a laser treatment to really get into the hyperpigmentation and even tone. So when y'all see that glow, that is a natural glow, y'all. Like, I don't wear makeup, and there's nothing against people who do. I don't do any Botox, nothing against people that do. I am just using rest, retinol, and relaxation. Yeah, retinol in my skincare products. I do retinol once a week in my skincare products, but there's no Botox, there's no nothing. There's no injections, none of that. There's no fillers, none of that. This is just a good skincare regimen. And as Dr. Parks always tell me, my girl Amanda, genes and genetics, but also a good skincare regimen, because black can crack if you do not maintain it. But that glow, honey, that glow is real. And listen, this is what I tell people. Don't get these cheap facials, these little, listen, you can get a good quality facial that will do what you need to do. And if you maintain it with a good skincare regimen, you don't got to spend all that money all the time. There's people that do all these monthly facials and weekly facials. If you get a good skincare regimen and you keep it up, and a good skincare regimen, y'all know what it is: a good oil cleansing, a good facial cleanser, and then you do a good toner, right? And then you do a good serum, and you do a good moisturizer. You're good, and sunscreen, of course. That's it. I'm going to lay it down to you. You need to have oil cleansing. Step 1, oil cleanse that face. Step 2, cleanse that face with a good skincare, a good facial cleanser, okay? Then after that, you need to tone that face. You need to get a good toner to get over that debris and all that. Then you need to add a good serum to fortify the skin with good hydration and nutrients and keep that skin barrier right. And then you can wrap it up with a good moisturizer. And then at the end, some sunscreen. Now, you can mix your sunscreen with your moisturizer so you can keep that, because you need to make sure the UV rays and all that don't keep hitting the skin, okay? So that is my 6-step process. And that's what you do. That's a good skincare regimen. If you do that on a regular basis, then you can get a good, really good expensive facial. Now, a good quality facial is, Ask Lisa's facial is going to run you around $200, okay? Roughly $200. But you do it every quarter, okay? Because every time there's a new season, you got to reset the face, in my opinion, to get ready for it. And then you also need to swap out some products. You don't use the same summer, the same facial care stuff that I use for the summer, I don't use for the fall, because the climate changes, the weather changes, right? So I use a lot of hydrating, light, skincare stuff in the summer, because it's the sun, it's hydration. So I keep the skin hydrated, and you want to keep it, you want to keep it light because it's a little hot outside, right? But in the fall and the winter, I began to do a lot of work on the skin barrier, because it's going to get colder outside. It's going to be a lot of nutrients getting taken out. Your skin's not going to produce as much oil, so you need to retain moisture in the changing climate. So you got to get some, moisturizers that's going to be very heavy on the squalene. Okay, you got to get some stuff, you want to still keep the skin hydrated, but you also want to keep it moisturized. So you're going to use, you go past the moisturizer, the creams, like good hydrating creams, skin creams, because that barrier, you're going to have to keep it moist because the cold and the change in the temperature. So all of that's very important. You're going to see less heat and less sun as well. So sunscreen is important, but you're not going to put as much of a heavier application as much, because you're not going to be out in the sun all day and the snow and all that. So all of that, you need to prepare your skin barrier for that. And so before you shift into new skincare products, you want to do a serious, deep clean facial to really remove all of those habits, so you reset the skin so it can take on new. Because if you transition to newer products before you do that deep clean, that dermabrasion, and remove all the excess skin and debris on the skin, what happens is that you actually can agitate the skin. Because if you're swapping out products on a skin regimen, you don't reset the skin, which I believe a good facial Do that, right? Not these little basic little glow little pills. You got to get a real one, y'all. And it costs some money. So if you're serious about your skincare regimen, you're going to have to make an investment, but it's worth it. Because this is what you do now so that you don't end up in your 60s and late 50s feel like you got to do a facelift and do all this Botox stuff. If you want to avoid all of that expensive surgical treatments, let's start investing in it now. This is what I call proactive skincare. This is what you do, preventative skincare. This is maintenance right here. So when y'all look at me and say jeans, yes, it is jeans. And I know Dr. Barr's like, see, there he go again. But nah, I got to say it. Because it's some maintenance, baby. I put some money on this skin to make it. This is the natural glow, baby. This is none of that control or that what's that contour. We ain't doing none of that contour. No shade for folks who do, but there's no contour here. You too can get like this, but you got to invest. You got to have discipline. You got to have a good, healthy cycle, okay? So we got to make sure even when we drunk, we making sure we moisturizing that skin before we go to bed. Even when we a little tired, we still get up in the morning and make sure we take care of our skin twice a day. We still use those vitamin C serums, because vitamin C is helpful. We still taking our vitamins, we still drinking water, we still mind our business. And we de-stressing because stress does work to the face. See, I try not to get stressed out. Y'all not going to work me out. See, I'm not going to let my black crack. And neither should you. So that's my shameless plug. But I want people to make sure that they're taking care of that skin barrier and doing their big one. I also had a good time this week. I got to meet the brothers, the Stevenson brothers, okay? I got to meet both of them, which is unheard of because these brothers are incredible. I met Brian Stevenson. I met his brother, met both of the Stevenson brothers, who are incredible. The Stevenson brothers are just godsends, Howard Stevenson, Brian and Howard Stevenson. Howard Stevenson is a professor. Dr. Howard Stevenson is a professor at Penn. His brother, which is Brian Stevenson, this is the guy who wrote the book Just Mercy. He is a MacArthur Fellow, a Andrew Carnegie Medal of Excellence. He's written great books. He's acclaimed. He went to Harvard. He went to the Kennedy School. He went to law school. He's so accomplished. Both of them. Listen, both of them brothers, man, those are some, incredible men. Both of them. Met both of them at an event. They have an organization that they're doing that's doing some really great racial justice work. The organization is called Lion Story. And they had a mixer. The who's in social justice and education were there. I was happy to be there. I got a selfie with both of them. And it's probably going to go on my list of my top 5 favorite selfies of all time because of just who those men are. And to be able to get them both at the same damn time like that, and they're incredible black men, top 5 selfies of all time. Don't ask me what my other selfies are. Oprah is one of them, okay? I got some good ones over the years. Oprah is definitely one of them. But they might be one of my top 2 favorites. They're just incredible. Their stories are incredible. I can't get enough. Also, where did I eat this week? I went to Metrica, which is this Filipino cuisine experience that is at Dream World Bakes. They do this, it's a special event that they do on Sundays, and I was floored by the food, the affordability of food, the authenticity, but some great stuff. And I'm here for it. It's this is the experience. There's a lot of cuisine coming in Philly. A lot of people are throwing shots about some of these restaurants that's coming in Philly. And I am personally telling you that at this point, we got to get to a point where local cuisine is where it's at. There's a lot of folks that are out here trying to rep and talk their shit about, the chain restaurants, but we got to get to a point where we support our own. So there's this great chef that is doing this great work. The group is called, his name is Daps Can Cook. That's who I follow. And so they do this event on Sundays. There's karaoke, there's social, but they have great food. So this one is called Metrica. It's Metrica. Metrica. and it's at Dream World Bakes. And this is a great venue. They do some really good food. Um, they do the payments are done through Cash App or cash only. They're open till 6 o'clock. And I went. They had a noodle pancit palabok. It's a Filipino noodle dish with a rich, savory crab fat and shrimp sauce with all the toppings. They had a lumpag, which I love too, lumpag Shanghai, which was these fried egg rolls filled with like the seasoned ground pork, vegetables. They had a sweet garlic soy dipping sauce. And they also had these really good rice bowls, which was really good. It was a stewed, deep fried, ground, gluttonous rice bowl with shredded coconut and brown sugar glaze. The whole entire experience, like I got all the things off, like the noodle dish and the spring rolls and the rice bowls. It was $40 for all of that, but I wanted to eat everything. So those pictures that you saw, okay, it was lit. It was lit. Everything was good, and the food was incredible, and the vibes were opulent. And this is how I'm immersing myself in Philly cuisine. I'm going to places like this and having it. Because I mean, the restaurant culture in Philly is up and down all around. But these are the experiences that I live for. This is the food that I enjoy. And I just want more people to know about this place. So definitely check it out and support them. They're doing this on a regular basis. Follow their pages on Instagram. The pages to follow is Dream World Bakes. Follow them. Follow Daps. Daps Can Cook. DAPSCANCOOK. Daps Can Cook. That is the Instagram page of the chef that's doing that good food and cooking. And Dreams World Bakes is the spot that is hosting it. And Dream World Bakes is on 2400 Corral Street. So check them out. They're doing some really fun things. They have some great other bakery goods and things that I like. So I had some other little fun little bites and stuff, but the love was real. And, I love when chefs can invite me to come out and support them. So come out to that. Also, some other news. Yeah, this is a big one. So for the second year in a row, this podcast is nominated for Best News and Politics Podcast for the Black Podcaster Awards. The Black Podcaster Awards have been around for the past 5 years. They honor podcasts from all over the country, Black podcast shows, of course. And Ernestly Speaking is nominated for a second consecutive year in a row for Best News and Politics. We're national, baby. Like, people be like, who listens to the show? Everybody. No, I'm joking. But no, a lot of people listen. And I'm honored as the executive producer, the host, the editor, all the things. This is all me, y'all. This is just me. It's just me. Me, my Logic Pro laptop, my editing software, technology, and all that. Buzzsprout account. This is all me. And for this podcast to hit 5 years very, very soon is really touching. And it's funny because October will mark the 15th anniversary of Ernestly Speaking. I started this as a radio show on my college campus through QHS. And the first guest of the show is a best friend of mine who is still my best friend to this day, Nina, my girl Nina. She was the first guest. We called her Nina Dominique. That's her middle name. And she was the first guest on Ernestly Speaking. She did the episode with me. It was a very, very spicy show. I came in swinging. And one of my first listeners was my good old friend, Dr. Parks Amanda. Amanda was listening. Jessica, Charnay called in on the show, who her birthday coming up in 2 weeks, right around the same time my birthday, another good Libra. And she called in on the show. It was a messy ass episode. Okay, we was talking about my Wendy Williams era. Y'all will never know about Ernestly Speaking, the original Ernestly Speaking. Okay, that show. You think this show was spicy, baby? That show was a mess. It was ahead of its time, but also the things that I did on that show, I would not be doing on this show. It was very controversial. Okay, you want to talk about spicy, honey? This those who don't know. Jamarcus was always a co-host with me because the show used to come on 8 to 10 o'clock on Saturdays on WQHS, which was the college radio station for the University of Pennsylvania. So I used to go to Pot Truck. Okay, Legends came out of there. Okay, Andrea Mitchell used to do radio there at WQHS. Legends came out of there, baby. Okay, And I interviewed some legends myself. I interviewed Mayor Michael Nutter on Ernestly Speaking. I interviewed Keke Palmer. I interviewed John Legend. I interviewed Elizabeth Banks. I interviewed some major heavy hitters on that show. Okay, when I was a college student. Okay, Ernestly Speaking, baby. Don't play with. This is 15 years of consistency. And so to be nominated for national awards for this podcast, to be still doing this in the creative ways that have evolved. Because before podcasting took off, we didn't even have podcasting like this. So this is why shows like this matter. You know, this is why it's so important to have an emerging media diversity convention, because somebody told me when I was 18 years old, okay? I'm going to be 34 next month. But at 18, somebody told me, you got a talent, you got a gift. You should keep doing this. You should keep writing. You should do this and you should write. And that's how I became a writer. And all of this is full circle. So to be in the game my entire adult life, 15 years. I tell y'all, child star, 15 years. Been doing this. Before it was popular. Before it was cool. It was just me and a mic. And a couple of my good friends who are still friends with me to this day. Jessica, Samantha, Amanda, Nina, of course, Jamarcus. It was a small crew. And and to this day, still doing it. Charnay calling in, all of these people. To this day, still friends with all these people. We've all grown, glowed up. I think all of us got advanced degrees, everybody. We all then are in our careers, still doing it, still supporting me, still here. And I'm still supporting them. My friend made the music, Jamarcus made the music on the variations of this show. And now I'm using his music as production for this show, for this podcast. That opening that y'all listen to, that's him. That's his production. So you know, you dream. And if you have the people that encourage you, you can soar. So that's why we do what we do. And now I got another radio show, which is On the Record with Ernest Owens on WRD Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, Progressive Black Talk Media. And now I'm doing 2 shows. Baby is a broadcasting girl. She got a podcast and she got a radio show. That's the dream. I'm getting paid. I'm making money. My podcast is monetized. I get paid as a radio show host. Like, it's 15 years ago. So we're going to do a big old 15th anniversary talk about the show later this week in October. But this is the 15th anniversary of Ernestly Speaking. Like, Ernestly Speaking was born 15 years ago. So this is history, y'all. This is history. And before we transition into hot topics, we got some more history. We're going to promote my show, as always, as we transition the commercial of On the Record with Ernest Owens. Greetings, I'm Ernest Owens, host of the show On the Record with Ernest Owens. Join me every Sunday at 10 a.m. for an exciting 1-hour public affairs show that dives deep into the local political news of the week, all while making bold predictions toward the week ahead. It's informative, insightful, and opinionated. That's On the Record with Ernest Owens, Sunday at 10 a.m. only on Word, Progressive Black Talk Media. So before we get to hot topics, a lot of you all have asked me, how can you listen to the show if you cannot listen to it live? And I'm referring to On the Record with Ernest Owens. You can go to the link in the bio, or you can go to my website. It is on my website, ernestowens.com. If you go to ernestowens.com, there is a SoundCloud playlist that will allow you to catch up on all the episodes from the very first one, which was with my special guest, Morgan Cephas, to the most recent episode with Chris Rapp, which we're going to talk a little bit about what went down in that interview. But you can listen to it just like you can with Ernestly Speaking on my website, ernestowens.com. Both of the playlists are available for you to listen to, or you can check it out in the link in my bio. The link in my bio on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, X, that link in bio, that link tree, it's right there on the record. You can click on it. You can access all episodes there as well. So it's all there. All of these episodes are free and accessible for you to listen to and enjoy. And yeah, that's my plug there. So let's get into these hot topics, because there has been a lot going on in Philadelphia, around the world, around the country, a lot. Trump. He's beefing. He's getting his lick back. He's doing his big one. He's coming for blood. He's back at it again. This time, he is back with James Comey. James Comey is indicted. And some of y'all might say, wait a minute, that's not who I think it is. He's like, wait a minute, who is that? You can't be serious because he is coming back. And it's nothing to laugh about or sneeze about. James Comey, for those who don't remember, he is someone who has been very much at odds with Trump. And some people would argue that this actually helped him, actually. The situation, for those who don't realize what's happening, the best way to describe the situation, and this is according to the New York Times, the clearest way, quote, the clearest way to understand the extraordinary nature of the indictment on Thursday, this is last Thursday, of James Comey, who is the former FBI director, is to offer up a simple resuscitation of the facts. Now, according to the New York Times, the way they will look at it is an inexperienced prosecutor loyal to Donald Trump in the job for less than a week filed criminal charges against one of her boss's most revealed opponents. She did so not only at Mr. Trump's direct command, but also against the urging of both her own subordinates and her predecessor, who had just been fired for raising concerns that there was insufficient evidence to indict. Now, at the same time, the Justice Department has also ordered prosecutors to investigate George Soros, which you've heard of Soros. Okay, in Philadelphia, you know him as the man who put a lot of money behind Larry Krasner, who is our current district attorney, to become the district attorney. Now, there's other speculation that the Justice Department is also looking to investigate him, who, of course, he is a billionaire Democratic donor Trump has targeted for financing left-wing groups. He's funded other progressive entities as well. This is a lot because these moves are really shaking up the decades-old norm that the agency should be free from political interference, but it appears that that is no longer the case. Now, the woman who I was referring to is the current Attorney General, which is Pam Bondi. And of course, Kash Patel, who's the current FBI director. They are really showing up and showing out in a way that has people on the edge. This is, I could say unprecedented, but that would just be another unprecedented moment for the Trump administration. But there's some concerns here, ethical concerns here. And even many are thinking that these attacks may undercut his case against Comey. This vitriol, could provide defense attorneys with the avenue to protect the very people he wants the most punished. This is according to the New York Times. They're saying that pretty much the way in which Trump has been going about this, and even his remarks, could actually build a case that can actually kill, any chance he got to put these people down. He's coming after his opponents, but it's looking ugly. And so now, Comey is facing charges in the federal district court. And remember, James Comey was criticized for initiating conversations of a possible investigation into then presidential candidate Hillary Clinton back in 2016. Now, you remember, people argue that his announcement of an investigation looking into Clinton's emails, remember her emails, the case that never actually really materialized and became anything, but just the mere mention of that speculation right before the November 2016 presidential election, people argue that sparked concerns. And some voters, which I'm going to say arguably white, conservative male voters, because I don't think black voters were shaken by whatever Comey said, but those voters who were on the fence, this is 9 years ago. 9 years ago. Remember that October surprise that everybody was trying to figure out what was going to be? was Comey announcing that there was going to be a possible look into Hillary Clinton. And because of that, that added fodder to Trump. See, Trump had what we would consider well, there wasn't no September surprise, but he had that, right? And that surprise was the revelation of that Access Hollywood footage with him and Billy Bush, who is related to the George W. Bush. They are distant relatives of him, notoriously saying, grab her by the pussy. And that audio footage, which was previous, that came to what people thought was going to bite him in the ass. It didn't. Some people would have argued that was going to end his campaign, that they got him. But he still got it. He still won the election. So a lot of times when people have that rhetoric and that thought of potential fear, it's very telling. But in this case, it didn't matter. And there's a cynic in me, to be honest. There's a cynic. I'm a little cynical. There's a part of me that feel like, was there anything that could have been done to stop 2016? Because even if we look at what's going on now, I don't know. I'm a little cynical. But there's all this going on amidst a backdrop of concerns around the government shutdown. There is talk that that Democrats are trying to figure it out. But, this government shutdown between the Republicans and the Democrats in Congress right now is rooted around healthcare concerns. People are wondering, are they going to fight on this healthcare issue? The verdict is still out. I don't know if the Democrats have a backbone right now to really fight them on this. But, the midterms are next year. If there doesn't seem to be any progress, what are we going to do? What's happening? And Trump seems to be spiraling out of control on different levels. There's, Daily Beast reports that he is trying to upstage Pete Hegseth by crashing a bizarre general summit. There's also concerns about the fact that he deleted weird AI videos. There is that, he's 79 years old, but there was alleged AI generated, video. And there's some weird AI video shilling of magic beds and all kind of conspiracy theories. Gavin Newsom, who isn't on my popular list, but he's the Democratic governor of California, has been trolling Trump over these bizarre magic bed conspiracies. And magic beds, because it's around these med bed hospitals, which, Fox News has, cited. But it's weird because the president posted an AI video of himself promoting a fake product called MedBeds. And this was on his Truth Social. He has 10.8 million followers. It was up for 12 hours. Y'all, 12 hours before he deleted it. Now, this clip that was in the form of a phony, like Fox News report. And again, if you want to read more about this, it's in the Daily Beast. The Daily Beast reported this. But basically, Laura Trump, which is his daughter-in-law, that is his daughter-in-law, basically announces that there's this nation's first med bed hospitals and that every American will receive a med bed card. This isn't real. And so if you heard about this, it's not real. Now, there are companies that have tried to sell this alleged med bed technology, but there's an AI Trump speaking in direct, complete sentences, but it's inconsistent with his normal speaking pattern. So I got a chance to see it before it got deleted, and it might be circulating online. Maybe people have a screen grab, but it was weird. It was weird. And for a U.S. president to be doing this, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. It's getting real spooky. It's getting real spooky out here. But the president got a lot going on. He reportedly was coming after the UN, trying to figure out who stopped the escalator for him to go up with Melania Trump, which the UN speech was wild out there. His good old friend, who's the prime minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, was speaking to mostly an empty crowd, talking about he's going to finish the job of Hamas. Many countries, as I told you all last week, are pretty much lockstep and key in supporting a Palestinian state. Several countries, Canada, France, Great Britain, many of these countries that are allies with the U.S. is stepping aside and saying no. They're acknowledging a Palestinian state. And for them to do that, the U.S. is looking more and more on the ends on this. And even Benjamin Netanyahu, even Trump was criticizing countries. They don't care. The world is looking at the U.S. in a different way. I don't know what this means for I know what this means, what it implies for our presence on the world stage, but this isn't looking good. I have never in my lifetime seen that many countries get up and walk out on an Israeli leader when giving a speech about something that many years ago people would have said for them to leave is anti-Semitic. Don't act like we ain't heard it before. Even 2 years ago, that would have been the case. But this war, and I put parentheses on war because it's not a war between Palestine and Israel. Because to say it's a war between them was to say that their country has soldiers and resources. Let's not conflate Palestine with Hamas. Israel's at war with Hamas. But unfortunately, the collateral damage is happening in Palestine and Gaza. And I've been having these conversations, and I've been talking about this on my podcast for the past year, and even beyond that, to make sure that people understood those distinctions, because unfortunately, we were at a point where there was just blanket statements, blanket conflation. And I think more and more as this war continues, continues, more and more people are beginning to say, this got to stop. Because at the end of the day, the Prime Minister of Israel cannot afford this war. It's the U.S. that consistently funds this. And that's why he can go on the UN stage and say what he says and feel like he's unstoppable. Because he knows that as of right now, the U.S. continues to fund this war and give him the money to do it. And the rest of the world is tapped out and disgusted. It's not looking good. So Democrats, so much is going on with Democrats, right? Kamala Harris is on her book tour. It's been interesting to see her stops. It's been interesting to see the backlash on different fronts. Many Democrats have come out to criticize 107 Days, which is officially released last week. And many people think this is going to jeopardize her political career. The question for me is, what political career? I don't think she has any interest in running for politics. I don't see it, personally. I don't. But there are some people that think that she still wants to do this. They're entitled to their thoughts. They're entitled to it. I don't know. For me, I find it very, I think someone who write a book like that don't give a fuck. Like when Hillary wrote her book, What Happened? She wasn't running for office again, y'all. You got to remember, Kamala Harris ran for president 2 times. She ran in 2020 and she lost. She dropped out before she could even make it to the primary. Became the VP, made history. Now, she ran in 2014 under some really unusual circumstances. I don't think she has a pursuit. What more can she do? The governor conversation was ridiculous because I didn't think she was going to do that. President, I think she's realized that she did what she could do. She moved, look, Hillary moved it to being the first woman to secure a major party nomination for president. Kamala moved her up to become the highest ranking woman in American politics as vice president. And she got the nomination for president, right? As a woman of color. So now, the next person, which I believe a woman can do it. It may not be Kamala, it may not be Hillary, but now it's possible. That race was close, and Kamala's been saying that throughout her tour. There's been a lot of critiques about the book tour. For me, It's interesting who she's in conversation with for her book. You know, she did an interview with Aaron Haynes, which is my former friend, who is the current president of the National Association of Black Journalists, who has been getting a lot of heat within that organization and within these media leadership streets. Because remember how I told you all a month ago, or a month and some change ago, that, well, actually it's been about roughly 2 months ago, that, she is coming in with a new executive director, that there's a lot of change at NABJ. Well, she buried in an email that she sent out to her members. I'm not one of those members of NABJ, but, things come to my desk, that the board had voted, the majority of the board rescinded that executive director offer. After installing that executive director, after hiring her, the previous board did so during their last general convention. They now have rescinded that contract. And their previous legal counsel told them that to do that would create legal trouble for them, will create some financial problems, because you're going to now kill that executive director contract. Apparently, the woman who was previously in the role, Elise Durham's, who is based in Atlanta, who, interesting enough, was on the board of the NABJ Atlanta chapter that Aaron was on before she moved on up to president of NABJ. It's going to be very interesting. I hear from sources that Elise Durham is getting legal counsel because she's probably going to end up suing NABJ and that board. Hopefully they have board insurance. Hopefully Aaron knows what she's doing. And interesting enough, they're going to be in Atlanta in late October to have their board meeting. That should be a very interesting trip, because they're going to have their general convention in Atlanta. And once again, there's no longer an executive director at NABJ, and they're trying to figure it out. But I digress to say that she, during this week of news, is centering the conversation on her interview with Kamala Harris. She's got 2 books, a 2-book deal that, we have not seen those books. And initially, the speculation was that she was going to interview Kamala and going to do a book on Kamala, but that seemed not to be happening as of right now. But she would rather distract the public's attention on her interview with her and focus on that and not talk about what's going on in NABJ. In the name of being transparent, you bury it in the lead, but I digress. So Kamala is getting interviewed by people she likes and her friends. She's not getting talked to by real hard journalists. No one's asking her tough questions. She's just on the victory lap. And there seems to be mid to low enthusiasm about this tour. The book has had interesting reviews. I read it. I found it interesting. But I've heard many people say that the spiciest aspects were the tell-all parts, but a lot of this book kind of drags. Because I'm a political journalist at heart, I found it to be interesting, but I can see in retrospect, because my good friend Manny, he listened to it, a couple of people was like, yeah, a lot of this just seems super safe. I think people thought this was going to be a tell-all book that was going to drop bombs. I found there to be aspects of it that was tell-all, but the book is pretty big. It is a 10-hour audiobook. So for those who are driving and listening to it, you got your work cut out for you. But navigating it, if you're a Kamala fan, you're going to enjoy it. If you're somebody who is trying to get some spicy tea, there is moments of spicy tea, but it isn't as deep as maybe some may expect. So manage expectations. If you think she's trashing the Democrats all the way through, she does seem to safeguard and protect some of them. So there are aspects of it that I just want people to recognize, that it's not all fire, and desire. That there is some things that is not said or implied. And so take that with a grain of salt. But she does answer most burning questions as far as people wanting accountability, people wanting people to speak truth to power. There is a lot of that is explored in the book. So I won't say it's a waste, but if you're somebody who has the lack of patience, whatever you've read, those are the major key points. So I'll leave that there. Obama has been speaking out lately, said that pretty much in a nutshell, he doesn't get super specific, but he says, look, old people got to get out the way. The Democratic Party, I agree with that. There's a lot of old people. He doesn't name them, but Chuck Schumer, that is the minority Senate leader, Chuck Schumer, who is pretty much, I don't know what's happening with him and Hakeem Jeffries, but it's an embarrassment. Their inability to endorse Mondani, which I want to get to some of that because we're going to talk about Mondani. He has a special situation going on. I got some thoughts about Mondani that are very different than what you might be hearing out in the public. But there just seems to be a lot of pushback. The resistance towards Mondani continues to grow. And, Obama making his case right now is very strong. There's also a lot of polling out here saying that there's no clear direction for who is the heir apparent. Now that Kamala has come out and has become very critical of certain folks and certain things, people don't see her as the leader of the Democratic Party right now, apparently. That normally whoever is the presidential nominee typically could be the face and the leader. It appears as though Kamala Harris may not be interested in being the leader of the Democratic Party. She doesn't seem to be interested. Whereas you see the likes of Trump, where Trump failed, he ran for president, won the first time, lost the second time, came back and won the third time. People say, why not Kamala do the same thing? It doesn't seem to be the case for her, but because other people are trying to show up and show out. And so they're not really clearing the runway for her. And it appears that if she was to try to go again, it would have to be a primary where other people would throw their hats in. And she'll have to duke it out, most likely with the likes of J.B. Pritzker, Gavin Newsom, Josh Shapiro, possibly Cory Booker, but she'll have to duke it out again. If she do, she'll have to, we'll see what the country wants, but what the voters want, what the Democratic voters want. So it'll be interesting to see that direction. But I don't know. I don't sense she wants to run. The book really suggests that. She tries to leave it open-ended, but I don't know. In my gut, I think she's chilling. I think she's fine. I think she's going to collect her millions, do her book tour, and be fine. And that's okay. That is okay. There's no need to make a person run if they don't feel like it. So there's that. Now to Eric Adams. Eric Adams have dropped out the race for mayor of New York City. He is the current incumbent and he's out. So there will be guaranteed a brand new mayor. I mean, we kind of sense that, but officially there will be a brand new mayor in New York City. He is officially following the legacy of the other black mayor, which is, that guy who wasn't originally from New York City, but was, a big deal, a big leader, to see someone be able to take on that mantle. Eric Adams was the second black mayor of New York City. The first black mayor of New York City had a very interesting experience. He faced a lot of racism. He faced a lot of bigotry. David Dinkins. He's the first black mayor in New York City. He passed away, actually, during the pandemic in November of 2020. He lived a pretty long life. He lived to be 93 years old. And I think he was a great guy. I think David Dinkins was a great guy. A lot of people don't give him his flowers. He don't get his flowers enough. But he made something of himself. He was born in Trenton, New Jersey. And then made his way. He went to Trenton Central High School. My husband is from Trenton. I believe he went to Trenton Central High School as well. And so it's interesting. Greatness came out of there. He preceded Ed Koch and then was succeeded by Rudy Giuliani. Ed Koch, as you all know, was arguably one of the first major he was a gay mayor. He was not out when he was mayor. He passed away in 1989. No, he didn't pass away in 1989. I'm sorry. No, he did not pass away. He passed away in 2013. But he served from 1978 to 1979. He had a long run. He had 2 terms, unlike Eric Adams. But that history is there. But he passed away in 2013. And lived to be about 79 years old. 79 years old. Well, actually, hold on. 89 years old. 89 years old. He lived a long life. These New York City mayors have lived long lives. Okay, Eric Adams. Okay, Rudolph Giuliani. We'll see you. But I say all this to say that this is an interesting time, right? Because Mamdani, this race is going to tighten up. Do Eric Adams voters go to support, do they go to support Cuomo? Who, interesting enough, has come out to be a little bit more critical of Israel. Not fully there, but has been a little bit critical. Seems like Cuomo is trying to make the name for himself, but Cuomo doesn't have it. And interesting enough, Kamala Harris came out and endorsed Mamdani for mayor, which is a major turning point. Hakeem Jeffries still has not done it. And weird enough, even though Eric Adams was initially a Democratic Democratic candidate, right, when he ran during the primaries, this general, he ran as a third-party candidate, and yet Hakeem Jeffries was out here writing a long letter, basically groveling at his feet for his leadership and his courage. And it's like, so you're still in bed to try to get, you're still trying to make Cuomo a thing. You just will not endorse Mamdani. So now you're supporting his opponents. He's going down bad. I thought at the top of the year that this brother was going to be the next majority leader. And you know what's funny? He still might. If they went back to the House in 2026. He might be the next one still, because the Democrats, again, don't have a backbone over there. But talk about someone who has completely misread the room and has fallen out of grace with so many people that was rooting for him. We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. But, it is what it is. Now, some people have been critical of the vice president, saying that her endorsement is not as glowing and as shining as they would like for Mamdani. But I need to take a moment, because actually, I got to say, Kamala don't owe these Democrats. Let me back up real quick. Kamala does not owe Mamdani that much praise. I got to remind you all that Mamdani was a Democratic socialist. He was some of the people that was pushing that uncommitted shit. Okay? He was not gun-ho and supporting Kamala. Now, he did eventually endorse or whatnot, but it wasn't glowing. It wasn't showing up. Kamala is matching that energy. So let me be very clear. There is some legitimate critiques around Mamdani and the way that he showed up for certain Democrats. Now, am I saying that, he should not get any support? No, because he is a Democratic nominee, and it is what it is. However, don't expect certain people to go out here and bow and praise and do all that, because he was not doing all that for all these people. Now, he might have shown up for some and endorsed and supported some people. Yeah. But he did not show up like that for Kamala or for Joe Biden. And he had his critiques, and that's rightfully so. But you cannot expect for there to be these glowing endorsements. So some of you all who just want all that for him, you got to respect that these are still people. And politics is still a people sport. It's a contact sport. And so Kamala is doing the right thing, and she's endorsing him, and she's doing that for that is what civility looks like. However, she does not have to be his bestie and have to give him a glowing review. Period. So let's readjust expectations there, because I've heard so many people act like he's entitled to so many folks' reverence. I tell people respect and reverence are two different things. Kamala respected him and his win as a Democrat by endorsing him. But she does not have to revere him. She does not have to hold him in high regard beyond general mutual respect and proper, in-party support for a candidate. So, from Libra to Libra, Kamala Harris is a Libra, Mamdani's a Libra, I'm a Libra. Libras, look, we find consensus and we stick there. So, that's that on that for that. Because I think too many people, Democrats have a lot to work on, but now's not the time to beg for support and then critique the support you begged for and you got. Okay, let's not be, beggars can't be choosers. And I don't think Mamdani is critiquing. I think he's actually happy that he even got the endorsement. But, some of his supporters pipe down. Seriously, pipe down. So, a lot of you all have been asking me about this Marjorie Taylor Greene transformation. The New York Times had did a story about how Marjorie Taylor has been pretty much defying her party. She, has always kind of been the outsider, but really recently seemed to really take some bold stances that have really alienated her from, the party. Like, she came in hot, and it seems like she is really even more. The headline from the New York Times said Marjorie Taylor Greene straying from Trump shows emerging mega split, or MAGA split, however they want to call it. What's interesting to me is that, she came to Congress in 2021. She was already like a little bit of an outsider of the Republican Party, because at that time, she was in this, like, I don't want to say Tea Party, but there's like cliquish, ultra mega far right little clique that included her and what's the other, they this so they're not even, most of them not even in Congress anymore. What was it, Bonehard or whatever? Bonehard. But like it was her and that guy who got in trouble. Well, he left because he was trying to run for a seat, but it was like a huge little, mega clique. And they were the outsiders for a long time, but they had power because they can stop the majority. And that was a moment in time that wasn't that long ago, but they have pretty much fallen to the wayside. A lot of them, are kind of their own little way. And some people think that some of that rise came from Marjorie Taylor Greene. She had her clique, she had her group, and there was a guy from Florida who was a congressperson, who built his own reputation in a way that now he's not even there anymore because he had his own allegations of, sexual, misconduct, and, he didn't run for reelection. And I said, well, he wanted to go for another seat, and then that didn't work out for him. And we've seen how this play out, time and time and again. But I remember there was she beefed with the girl Bohart, or whatever, who had the husband, the movie theater situation, and she's always judging people. Not Nancy Mace, but there was that incident with her, and she was just a mess. And so there's been so much, talk about that relationship between them. They used to be good friends. Alicia and they were coming in booing, calling, Biden a liar, all this. And then that relationship kind of, has fallen apart in its own way. But this is the stuff, though. The beefs that happened. Lauren Boebert was her name. She's still around. But that relationship, that Freedom Caucus is what they had. That Freedom Caucus was tight. And apparently she's gotten taken out the Freedom Caucus. And a lot of that, blew up over the summer. You got Kevin, McCarthy. You got Scott Perry. This was that group. And of course, Lauren Boebert. They're the more ultra conservative group. You got Mark Meadows. You got Jim Jordan. You got Ron DeSantis. All these individuals. And she's been kind of taking out that House Freedom Caucus group. That was in many ways, Ken Buck was a part of that. These are all these Republicans. This little clique, that was the clique. It was called the House Freedom Caucus. And so she left that in July. And, eventually she became a team player. But then as she got more tired of Trump, the party overall, they're calling her a powerful free agent, which is interesting. And by the way, the guy who was a part of that Freedom Caucus is Matt Gaetz. He's no longer a part of it now. He resigned. He didn't run for re-election. Matt Gaetz is who I was thinking of. You can look up Matt Gaetz's many, controversies. He's got a lot. But again, it was an era, a small moment in time. And now she has really been critical of Trump. I'm talking about she's still telling people to release those documents on the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. She has changed her position on Gaza. She is critical artificial intelligence. She is being critical about America's involvement with Iran and the Ukraine. She's changed her positions on some of that. Um, there is a lot of fractures within the mega movement. And I've been saying this lately. Like, there's been so much talk about Democrats fighting each other. What's new? Democrats in disarray. What's new? But what has been ignored is the growing divides amongst the Republicans. Republicans, then MAGA. Then within MAGA, there is a divide within that. There's the grapers. I keep saying gropers, but there's those, whatever the hell they want to call themselves. They're doing what they're doing. You got the Trumpists that are like loyal to Trump at all costs. And that's, the issue too. You got that situation going on. You got all of these different cliques, and she's an example of that evolving. Like the more she's, doing it. And it's called groper, which I thought it wasn't because that sounds really weird, but they're called gropers. That is Groyper, gropers, which is like, what? And for those who don't know what they are, they're an interesting group. Um, Pretty much they basically have been known. They're like basically the critics who tried to connect Charlie Kirk's suspected shooter with Nick Fuentes. That is the Proud Boy, the podcaster who has a history of racism and a lot of the problematic language. Basically, Fuentes said that his followers are being framed for Charlie Kirk's killing based on no evidence. Oh, so now we know what research and evidence looks like. That was some of the critique because people think that because they had a beef that something was going on. And so there's a lot of it, right? And so basically the gripers, maybe gripers, I call them gropers, but it's probably gripers. They're basically this variation of Pepe the Frog. I don't know if you all seen that Pepe the Frog meme on the internet. Maybe not in the interwebs, but for those who are deep in it, this is a meme that basically the alt-right like co-opted. So that Pepe the Frog graphic, if you see it, it's basically been reused and retooled to symbolize the far right, the alt-right group. And they've been online. They're on Chan, they're on Chan, 4chan. They started being on that in 2017. And a lot of people consider them to be a hate group. The Anti-Defamation League is very critical of them. They are Christian nationalists. They do not support feminism, LGBTQ rights. They don't believe in open borders. They want to close American borders. And there's a lot going on with Fuentes because, he's that underground podcaster and he's been connected with them, which the FBI labeled him as a white supremacist. The FBI did. Now, this is before the current Trump administration. But he dined with Trump, and even Kanye West at Mar-a-Lago. And then he turned against the president. But this is before then. But in 2019, this is during the Trump administration, the FBI labeled him as a white supremacist in 2019. That was when Trump was still president, the first term. He hung out with Trump and Ye, or Kanye, and they dined. And that was before he turned against the president. He's been very critical of him. He's been banned off of Twitter, okay, even by Elon Musk, okay, both times. And then they reinstated him back on, around May. So there's a lot going on. Him and Charlie Kirk has been beefing for a while. And that's what they called it. They called it a griper war. They were going, because for those who don't know, the late Charlie Kirk was the leader of Turning Point. He was this CEO of Turning Point, which was this, still is. His wife, I guess, is the lead of it now. But Turning Point was basically the organization that led Charlie Kirk to prominence. And there was a lot of people that were wondering, where did this come from, this group? And so Candace Owens was a part of Turning Point USA. Erica Kirk, his wife, is currently the CEO of Turning Point USA now after his death. But this is important to note because some of this stuff you're hearing online, trying to connect these dots, a lot of those individuals were connected to the January 6th attack. Not Turning Point, but the Gripers. or the gropers. Either way. But there was a lot of criticism around Charlie Kirk from this group, this clique. A lot of them basically are very big on confronting these quote unquote mainstream organizations. So they look at Turning Point USA. They criticize it because they didn't promote the America First agenda. And the Anti-Defamation League have considered them, the gropers, as a hate group. In 2019, a lot of his fans, they said it was a groper war that began to criticize and troll Turning Point speakers and events, including Candace Owens. So Charlie Kirk was getting that smoke for the past 6 years before his death. So once he died, there's a lot of conspiracy theorists that says that they were the ones behind it. They're saying that a lot of people are claiming that Tyler Robinson, the alleged assassin of Charlie Kirk, they said he's speculated to be one based on his memes and his rhetoric. And, a lot of people are telling groups that, that is what it looks like. Like this narrative of him being this, in a relationship with trans women and being liberal and a leftist, that's a lie. And to some extent, one could argue that the Trump administration and many Republicans are wanting to really thrust this narrative of leftist indoctrination. But I've always been critical of that personally because of the fact that I don't get it. If the left was so influential in indoctrinating people to do X, Y, and Z things, how come they couldn't rally people to the polls and vote for Kamala? How come they weren't strong enough to, keep Trump, keep Trump out of office from re-election? If they got Biden in, why didn't they keep Kamala in? If there was such a massive... Listen, one thing about the left, okay, and about Democrats fell upward. They get things in spite of. The Republicans have to suck so bad that voters will then go vote for Democrats. I mean, unless you are a true blue Democrat, you're black, you're LGBTQ of color, because clearly the white gays, they flip-flop like pancakes, especially the affluent ones. But unless you are a marginalized, underrepresented community, you're just going to vote for Democrat because you can't even dip your feet in the water and try anything else because everything else wants to kill you, to be honest. And the ones that do, they're just outliers and want to be contrarians. Let's be real. Let's just be real about that. They're getting paid. They're getting incentivized to tap step and to tap step. Boy, they tap stepping, right? The tap stepping, I'm going to use that term. Tap stepping is a term coined by myself where one is tap dancing, but also step and fetching. So we call it tap stepping because they're tap dancing and step and fetching at the same time. It's raccoon behavior. So I say tap stepping. We're going to start saying it. They tap stepping. We ain't going to say step and fetching and tap dancing. It's the same thing. They tap stepping. So, so a lot of them are tap stepping, and that's why they are the ones who do. But my main point is that the left did not indoctrinate anybody to do these heinous crimes because we don't even have that pool. They don't even have the concentration. What infrastructure do we have in place to convert people? We don't have a Turning Point USA. You all think we do, but we really don't. We're splintered. We disagree on approach. There's not one mechanism that's driving people. There's no real strong, aggressive, proud boy unit for leftists. The Democratic Socialists, they fractured amongst each other. The progressives are fractured amongst each other. Working class party fractured amongst the progressives. We don't have enough, consensus to be able to indoctrinate anybody to do anything, which is why the majority of these types of political violence is overwhelmingly far right, because the nucleus of collective cohesive, like even Democrats, we could never do a January 6th. We could never do it. We could never mobilize to do a January 6th. You have to be a certain type of person to feel that emboldened. We're more critical. We can drag our own Democratic leaders better than the Republicans can. The Republicans be saying something about Kamala. I'll be like, listen, I could read Kamala. I could read Biden better than any conservative. And my shit would be actual, factual, and you would think I was a Republican when I would drag. But the gag is, Republicans, they just go, the rhetoric would be crazy. Kamala's a socialist. What? Biden's a socialist. He don't even support universal health care. Yeah, probably more. The gag is these moderates are Marjorie Taylor Greene's policies on Gaza was more arguably woke than Biden. Now let me say this: don't fall for it though. I'm not falling for Marjorie Taylor Greene's nonsense. Let me just say, I don't believe her. I don't believe her one bit. She's just talking. Until there's actual policies and legislation that she's producing and getting passed, I might consider it, but she ain't moving no legislation. She's just moving them gums because she's scared to get a seat. She's trying to run for some seats. I'm not fooled. Okay, we done that. You know, any white person trying to turn a new leaf politically that's been showing their ass for a long time with their bigotry, all that shit she said about Jasmine Crockett. You think? Listen, please, I'm not fooled. Let me just say that. However, I think that there is divisions, and I think the Trump administration and conservatives know about these divisions. They're embarrassed by them. They're a little scared of them. And they're trying their hardest to shut this up because Candace has been running them yappers. Cousin Candace Owens, honey, she's been spilling the tea. That's why they didn't want her at that funeral, that memorial for him, because and her and Charlie were besties. They got pictures over the years. They in the car listening to all kind of music. Grooving, okay? They were close. Hmm. Anyway, not to insinuate anything. I just But anywho, the division is there. And it's getting louder. And I tell people, and I'll say this all the time, the only person that can defeat a white supremacist are a bunch of angry black people that's tired and fed up, or white supremacists. White supremacists will defeat white supremacists or angry black people that are fed up. That is the answer. It is not our white colleagues. It's allies, progressives, and ain't none of them. Because let me tell you this, the way that they're showing up, I'll give you an example. Kamala, her book tour. You talking about leftist indoctrination. Look how they've been showing up at her book tour. She's not even the president. She can't even do shit about any of the issues. They talking about Gaza and Palestine. I'm like, wrong person. Y'all 45 minutes away from the president of the United States. Why has none of this smoke been carried for Trump? It's the anti-blackness for me. And with all due respect, a lot of these wannabe progressives and people talking about they're uncommitted, all these people that got this smoke, y'all had none of it for Trump. It'd be one thing if y'all was criticizing both candidates, but none of y'all show up to them rallies. None of y'all show up to these events. She has a book tour. She literally cannot do anything. She is in no position to do anything. You would have been better off getting her elected and then holding her accountable at that point. But you didn't. And now you still want to show up and complain? Who fucking cares? Let me be very clear. I don't believe them. Anybody that is protesting Kamala Harris in 2025, when she has literally no political influence whatsoever, I don't take you seriously. Keep Gaza's name out your mouth. Shut the fuck up and take the smoke with the person and the people in charge. You're cowards. You would rather spend all this time attacking a black woman who has no political power whatsoever to help. And to be honest, she was the only one in that administration who had any inkling to try to move the needle. Out of Biden, Trump, and her, she was the better person. Was she the best out of everybody? No. But out of the three people that was running for president, she was the one that had the most interest and could have moved the needle forward. Now you got Trump. Congratulations. You played yourself. You uncommitted yourself. Now guess what? She's not even eligible now. Fuck you. You played yourself. You thought she was leveraging it, and it was not about Gaza. You know what? I think that's the issue. Did you actually talk to people, Palestinian folks, that was in those countries? Did you actually hear what they would have preferred? Do you think that they wanted you all, you white liberals, you want to be white woke progressives, did you actually think, because black and brown people Marginalized people are more pragmatic than your reckless, privileged asses. Do you really think that they would have wanted you all to leverage and hold up a consequential election like this where they are literally dying? You think the answer is to tell people not to vote? You think the answer is to tell people not to vote for the person that is the most likely to give them results? Did y'all not learn anything from 2016? You keep doing this, and guess who gets fucked over the most? It's not y'all white asses. No, it's black and brown people and the intersections of those individuals, Muslims and queer people and everyone in that spectrum. We the ones who keep getting fucked over. It's us that lose the jobs. It's us that lose the DEI programs. It's us that get impacted the most by reproductive justice rights being scorched. It's us losing the housing. It's us losing the grants for our HBCUs and schools. It is us being fucked over the most. While y'all sit up here and fucking virtue signal. You don't listen to people of color. You don't listen to black and brown folks. You don't listen to black people. You don't listen to the people that you ride off our backs for. And you know what's interesting? And I got to keep it 100 about the folks behind Mandani, is that every single time a pragmatic black person that tries, that really has to do a different type of game to get elected, runs for office, whether it's Hillary, which, when she ran as the woman, whether it was Kamala, who ran as a black woman, you all say to them, oh, no, not woke enough, blah, blah, blah. But she didn't say that shit when Biden ran. And what's interesting is that you all can get together to elect these white men who don't even have as much of imagination or open space. But what I've noticed is every single time you all risk this country with your nonsense, with your uncommitted, with all your whining, guess who benefits the moment we get in quote unquote resist revolution mode? Who benefits? Non-black progressives. The moment Trump won in 2016, we saw across this country a rise of a lot of non-black progressives. We saw AOC get her seat. We saw Elizabeth Warren get propped up. We saw Bernie Sanders continue to build. It's always everybody else that benefits. But who suffers the most in that struggle? Black folks. And then y'all come and get motivated. Then y'all want to run for office. Then y'all want to speak out. Look what's happening right now. We on Resistance Part 2. And notice that the black progressives, the Cori Bushes and the Jamal Bowmans, sacrificial. Those progressives couldn't even keep their seats. But now y'all putting up another progressive that's not black. Mandani, which, listen, Mandani's got good policies. But I noticed that it's always everybody else. Black people always got to be the sacrificial lamb in these movements, whether it's progressive movements or within the Democratic Party. We are always the ones that have to get the most critique. We fall, we get fucked over, and then guess who comes up and run for those seats? The Helen Gims of the world, the others that come. Everybody else that's not black then get inspired by us, and then they get the support, they get the money that we never got. Wake up, y'all. The anti-blackness is within the room. So when I hear a lot of people with their criticism, when I hear a lot of people with all this smoke, when I hear a lot of people that want to talk about Kamala and stuff, I get it, but y'all, fuck y'all. Because a lot of this shit we would not be having right now if she was in office. Would it have been perfect? No, it never is. It never is. But we wouldn't be going through this. So to be quite honest with you, I know the leftists are not indoctrinating anybody to go fight with the right because they can't even protest the right. They won't even roll up and protest. So them leftists y'all talking about, they don't even have the stamina, the balls, or the courage. They ain't rolling up to no fucking Utah. They can't even roll up to NYC and confront this man and his administration. They can't even pull up to DC. Fuck you mean? It's annoying. I'm annoyed. Don't want to hear shit coming over here critiquing. They always got something to say about me. Fuck y'all. Yeah, I said it. Fuck y'all. Y'all ain't about that life. Y'all not about that life. Y'all sit up here with your little memes, and you sit around here and you want to heckle black politicians and shit. Look, I'm black. I got critiques for my people. But guess what? I got critique for them white folks that y'all don't have critique for either. You talking to somebody who had critique for Kenny and Sherelle Parker. A lot of you white progressives let Kenny slide. And now y'all got smoke for Sherelle. Shut up. This ain't y'all. This ain't for y'all. Go sit down. Because y'all are not going to experience the real legitimate harms. It's always going to be black folks, whether they supported her or not, that's going to get the harms of this. So move out the way. Move out the way. Don't run for these city council seats. Don't run for these state rep seats. Leave it alone. Put up a black progressive. Please. Thank you. More Andre Carrolls. Thank you. You know, more of that, please. Hell, even Kenyatta, Malcolm Kenyatta, sure. I'd rather him run for another seat he'll lose before I see another one of you all come up in here acting like you know what's good for our community. And where is Jill Stein? Where is she? You seen her? Let me look under this bag. Where is Jill Stein? Is she in here? Let me look. Let me open this door. Where's Jill Stein? That y'all keep bringing every fucking 4 years. We ain't doing that shit in 2028 either. We ain't doing it. Y'all gonna stop right there. If I hear Jill Stein's name, conversation over. I'm like, this is unserious, motherfucker. Turn around, y'all. Ignore. It's a wrap. We gloves are off. Because we gotta stop this. Midterms are next year. Get it together. Get information. Because I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like what I'm hearing. I've heard a lot about CBC weekend. A joke. Some people were serious. Shout out to Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett for making this point, which I agree with. And this isn't even for the progressives. This is for black voters, period. Stop acting like immigrants are taking these jobs that none of us want, because we want union jobs, we want paid jobs, we want jobs that we're qualified for and respectful jobs in different ways. The jobs that undocumented immigrants are getting in this country never was taking the jobs that y'all want. Okay? My educated, degreed up black folks, they weren't taking those jobs. So when I go to the barbershop and I hear y'all talk about your cousin can't get this job, they were never taking the jobs. So we can kill that. Them jobs are either being cut and eliminated because of billionaires that were too lazy and didn't want to unionize. Like, look at Starbucks. Is undocumented workers taking them jobs from Starbucks? No. Starbucks are eliminating them jobs. Their CEO is getting millions of dollars. That salary is fat as hell. The CEO of Starbucks, is got paid. Their CEO made $96 million last year. Be for real. Be for real. We got to stop this dumb rhetoric. We got to. We're talking too much. We're talking about stuff that is not important. And then we find ourselves with the nonsense. Multiple locations in Philadelphia are closed. And the strategy is not that Starbucks is not popular anymore, okay? It's because they have to justify all these losses to say that they're getting financially hit because they don't want to honor these unions. If you pay attention to the stores that's getting cut, many of these stores that's getting eliminated are stores that were unionized. And some of them are not, right? Some of them are not, but they are also purposely cutting back because they don't want it. Anytime you unionize a Starbucks, that store will be cut. And the leader, whoever the union rep is, they'll find a reason to fire them. That's just what it is, y'all. We not. And also, trans people. This argument about, the transgender community. Y'all get so caught in these stupid debates. I had a good friend of mine. Not, okay, let me clarify. Let me say associate, because y'all gonna be like, what friend? No. I should say an associate. I wouldn't say friend. But we are friendly. Now, we are friendly, but this is not anyone in my close inner friend circle. But they basically was implying like their thoughts about the trans community and saying, well, I do agree with them on this issue. And I said, y'all, this is not a real issue. The trans community is not responsible for anything that we got going on, y'all. They're not. They're not responsible for the rise of political violence. They're not responsible for why people ain't getting jobs, why schools are not happening, while union busting is happening. They're not responsible for any of that, okay? This whole debate about trans people in sports, it is such a non-issue. Literally, there's 500,000 players in the ACAA, okay? Or, there's less than 10 total that are identifying as transgender across all the sports, okay? There are literally no trans representation in many of the sports. Swimming, you might find one in swimming. Baseball, you might find someone there. But you're not seeing this. There is not a massive takeover. So this whole argument about what's being fair, they're literally taking one particular case or incident and they're blowing it out of proportion. And now we're supposed to sit up and spend time distracting ourselves with this bullshit. I refuse. I don't give a fuck. No one really do. You don't care about the sports. The gag is, if everybody cared about women's sports so much, why are women's players still getting paid less than male players? You want to talk about respecting gender equity? Where is the pay equity for women athletes, since you care so much? Oh, you only care about women in sports when you want to sit up and be transphobic. An issue that does not even impact the point. It's 99.99% of women in sports, in college sports, are not impacted by this. I'm supposed to care about the point 1, literally, over this issue. And y'all are talking hypothetical. Y'all haven't watched women's sports. Most of y'all don't even watch women's sports. You don't watch college women's sports. You give a fuck about that. It's a distraction. It's a distraction. If you come into the conversation, entertain that nonsense, conversation over. You can't tell me anybody. Tell me a college player that you personally know that's impacted by it. You don't? No. You don't. It's not a real issue. Black folks, black and brown folks, we can't afford. We can't afford to be distracted by shit like that. You're going to sit up here and let these Republicans entertain that shit in your community. But you over here losing SNAP benefits for grandmama. You should be asking about SNAP. Them Trump checks never came, did they? Did they? Where them Trump checks at? Huh? Let me look for them like I'm looking for Jill Stein. Let me look at his bag. The Trump checks there? They where Jill Stein is at. Nowhere to fucking be found. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. This is the messaging. A lot of you all got some annoying ass cousins. It's time to talk about it. Because some of y'all still out here playing. How many more jobs y'all gonna have to lose? How many? Because I don't know if y'all feeling it. Because if you're feeling it, you wouldn't be talking like this. You can't tell me that you're worried about the state of DEI and diversity and black history and culture and all this, but you're still out here entertaining stupid ass conversations that got us here, back here again. Enough. I don't got time to worry about the myth of a trans takeover in sports. It's not a real issue. And for Pete Buttigieg and Gavin Newsom, all these idiots, these are white Democrats. These are white Democrats that have time to waste their time talking across the aisle with people that want to kill us. And let me be very clear what I mean by that. I didn't say murder, because the murder would be the active do it. But when you create policies that cut Medicare for senior citizens, raise the price to make it inaccessible for people to access life-saving medicine, if you are doing that, if you're cutting AIDS funding, HIV AIDS research funding, cancer research, then what is happening? People will die. Ronald Reagan killed millions of people with policies. His policies killed millions of people. The AIDS epidemic, millions died because of his lack of compassion. His downright cruelty, his downright homophobia. It is because of that, the lack of support, the research, the funding, led to deaths. So when we say kill, we mean that shit literally. These policies will kill people. Women are dying after Roe v. Wade got slashed. Infant mortality, let's be real here. So I don't have time to hear any idiot tell me I didn't vote for Kamala because she trying to kill babies because of abortion. If that's how you're going to talk about abortion and women's right to choose, I will tell you that you support a man who has policies that's going to kill these kids living and their grandmothers and other families. There's people missing right now. There are people that have been deported, hundreds of people missing. They're not in the rosters. But you over here talking about this dumb shit. Let me tell y'all something. The tolerance needs to be down to 0. Some of y'all got 40% tolerance entertaining these stupid ass conversations. Wake the fuck up. Project 2025 was real. And it is happening. And all these silly little conversations about what Kamala could have did better and we passed that point. We cannot have coffee time, tea time conversations. Some of these white liberals can, and these progressive wannabes can, but a lot of us don't have the time. Your auntie, your grandma, the senior citizens, your family members that are struggling right now, they don't have the time to talk about that. No one really can. Everybody keeps talking about some kitchen table issues. Shit. If you talk about kitchen table issues, you know trans people in sports and all these other little silly things about immigrants taking jobs. That's not a kitchen table issue. Keep the main thing in focus. Because a lot of people right now are not focusing. They're not. Yeah. So on to media changes. There's been some interesting media changes happening. Kimmel is back on. Not surprised there. A rich white man who had the support of everybody. Black folks, Latino folks, white folks, of course, his fellow celebrities and rich people, poor people. Everybody named Mama wanted Kimmel back. He came back. He did a starring monologue. Let me just say this. It was fine. I mean, what do you expect? There's people that's like talking about how he played it too soft. Y'all, Jimmy Kimmel is not... Listen, he got ratings. They say it's a win for free speech. That'll be determined. Sinclair had to finally buckle down and run the show. It was his second highest rated show in 23 years of this, the past 10 years. The ratings are high. He had over 6 million people listen, which is a big deal for late night TV. So he's back on. Good for him. Now, I've been telling you all this, and I am proud to say it. I'm going to remind you all again. It is time to delete TikTok. TikTok is going. Trump has claimed it. He has brought back TikTok. TikTok got American control. There is going to be a coalition of Oracle is the organization, the company, which y'all should watch out for. Oracle is concerning to me. But there is potentially the Murdochs and others, a lot of right-wingers that are coming together to purchase an American version of TikTok. Let me tell y'all right now, you've been warned. Y'all made me not be on Twitter like that. And I have to say, I still have a Twitter account, but as y'all know, Twitter is like dying. It's pretty much a cesspool at this point. But I'm on Threads. I know. But that's where my people are. And I have been slowly but moving, transitioning to Threads. So a lot of you see my posts there. I'm not, Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn been getting me. I've been on LinkedIn. LinkedIn doing some things. I'm getting a little older. I can tell I'm getting a little older because I'm on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is, don't play with LinkedIn. LinkedIn trying to do some things. But, Facebook is with my close friends and family. Instagram has been my growing platform. I have really embraced Instagram, I've been going viral on Instagram, y'all. Like, ever since Instagram brought the retweet on Instagram, thousands upon thousands of views and engagement. Like, Instagram is where it's at. And I think I like Instagram. It has become slowly my favorite app. I know. I know. I have the most followers on Twitter. But my largest engagement now has become Instagram, people. And I think I know why. I know why because I'm able to post pictures. I don't do reels. I don't. I really don't do reels. And, y'all know me. I'm real about how I'm on reels. I don't really do reels. But I do posts. I post messages. I post pictures. And I engage. But in addition to that, I also do the IG stories, which I keep thriving, where I curate my news. I let y'all know what's going on in my life. I can do a quick little video. I can show you my face. I can make jokes. I love that. I love the IG story. I run that IG story. Y'all, listen, people go through my shit like, look, but it's an opportunity for me to promote businesses, support local businesses, support people I care about, get my message across, and do it in a way that is succinct, but also digestible. I let people know what's going on. I curate the news. I promote credible sources. Like, it's my thing, y'all. I really, really like Instagram. Instagram has slowly become. If you would ask me 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I said, baby, Twitter's where it's at. I still have a Twitter account, but I barely post on there because it really isn't, it's a cesspool. It really is a cesspool. And so I'm not really feeling it. I'm there. I'm going to keep it. My followers are there. I will post a couple times, but a lot of you all still have an account. Let's be clear. We're on the account to see the celebrity drama because I will say the celebrities are still on Twitter popping. Threads ain't really moving like that with that, but I do appreciate that my community is there. Like, my Black Twitter squad is now on Threads. So a lot of people I followed on we was part of the Black Twitter movement. They have converted to Threads. Blue Sky, child, I have that, but Blue Sky ain't. Too many apps, too much, y'all, okay? I have a Blue Sky account, but it's too many, child. It's too many. So we're going to do Threads because Threads is connected to Instagram. And I will say that has made it easier for me. So a lot of times I'm able to keep the Threads popping and convert there. But Instagram just seems to be the universal place for me right now, in addition to Facebook. Facebook is just really good for my community, and the aunties and the older folks. They really follow me on Facebook, and the ballers. The ballers are still on Facebook. Like, the old money and that funder money, they still on there. So I got to be on Facebook. And I like Facebook because that's where my folks are, family members and stuff. And it's just a place to let my family, my close, my people know what I've been up to. It's the family page. But Instagram, I think Instagram and the Threads combo is going to be my central hub now. Twitter is still there, but it's Instagram right now. And I think a lot of y'all noticed that. A lot of y'all have seen that in me. But it's changing, as I'm evolving with the technology, but in ways that make sense for me. Like, I will not let these platforms define me. I define it. And a lot of you all feel like y'all got to chase whatever trend. Listen, you can chase whatever trend, but at the end of the day, if you don't got the talent and material, people follow you wherever you go. I said I'm on Threads. Now, my followers on Threads is pretty solid for somebody who just got on there. I now have 4,600 followers on Threads. 4,600 is not bad, because everybody is, trying to figure it out. And so, yeah, 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 yeah. I'm feeling it. So, yeah, given that. Um, Other news, local news, which is the part I know a lot of y'all was excited when I brought up the stuff about thirsty people, thirsty Philly candidates, because you're trying to figure out what I meant by that, who I was talking about. Let me tell y'all before y'all start, before y'all get in y'all bag. This is a moment here. So before I start with that, my fraternity brother, Tony Wallington, Dr. Tony Wallington Sr. is going to be Philly superintendent. He's got his contract renewed till 2030. He's going to be with us, y'all. He is getting a 3% annual raise. He is now making $360,000. $360,000. $1,000 a year. So there's 365. That man makes $1,000 a day. $1,000 a day. $1,000 a day. Every day of the year, he's getting $1,000 a day. He makes $7,000 a week. Not bad. He making $31,000 a month. That's somebody said in 2 months. That man in 3 months make many people's average salaries. In 3 months, that man in 3 months makes what a lot of people will say a decent living. That man in 2 months makes, listen, I'm not going to say he don't deserve it because the man has worked his ass off. What he has done for the school district of Philadelphia is tremendous. The growth, the improvement he's making, he's doing what he can. He has turned some things around across the board. So I'm happy that he's reinstated. I'm happy that he is back. I'm happy that they did. That's the one thing that school board listen, that's one of the smartest decisions. Keep the people that's doing the work, staying at work. So I'm happy. I'm happy for him. City Council. Look, there is clear that this session, which is, by the way, has been boring. It's been boring. I can't. It's not much going on in council. I mean, there's a lot of resolutions railing against Trump. A lot of resolutions. Kenyatta Johnson, who's the council president, he's put out something. He's been critical of the administration. There's been a lot of critique in this administration. A lot of people are saying a lot of different things, and yeah, it's been a moment. It's been a moment, and yeah, it's council is resisting through resolutions, and I talked about this on my show on the record with Ernestly on 96.1 FM 900 AM WRD Radio. That the people say, look, we're tired of resolutions. We want legislation. We want policies. We want actual things we can see, touch, and feel and smell. That's what the people really want. Council is just doing what they do. Which brings me to that show. State Representative Chris Rabb was on the record this past Sunday. He was my special guest of the week. It was a great conversation. It was very engaging. It was an hour long. There's already been chatter about that interview, about some things he said and how people felt. Now, I would just say, I like to have a guest that will answer the questions. Some people can debate on the truthfulness of it or not, but it's all about the openness. A lot of people did not think that Chris Rabb would do an interview with me because, the whole politics, progressives, and he's a progressive, and progressives don't talk to Ernest. That's what they say. I mean, Chris Rabb is running for Congress. And when you're for the Congress, you're going to talk, right? Two of his opponents, State Senator Sharif Street, his colleague in the House, State Representative Morgan Cephas, they've been interviewed by me. For him not to have done it would have been a disservice. And let me just say this. He was open to the conversation. He was not at all acting funny. He was like, let's go, let's do it. He did it. He showed up. He did his thing. So I have no critique about him. I have no critique about him as far as the interview itself. Now, some of the things that he said, and it's got people in there that feel some type of way. He argues that, listen, he did not go to CBC weekend, Congressional Black Caucus weekend, because he says, listen, he needs to talk to voters in in Philly. He says the voters are not in DC. And he's not trying to ask for elected officials for any money. He's very critical about political money. And he implied that his colleagues, his opponents, were doing that. And he was not going to do that. Plus, he says he's been there for years. Like, he's been in the game. He was a staffer for the first black woman senator, I believe he said. He has worked, on the Hill. He knows the players. He's been there, done that. He wants to do something different. He wants to be something different. And Chris Rapp has always been someone who's always been the contrarian politically. I asked him a question about why it appears that the progressives are not backing him. Like a lot of his progressive colleagues and other folks are not really showing up. No one has really endorsed him out loud. We got people like Sharif Street who got unions and the groups that's coming out really supporting him. Morgan Cephas got people showing up and already coming out. But he hasn't had that. And I thought that was very interesting because he talks about how he's going to have to fight to get the votes and do the grassroots. But I said, why is that not the case? But interesting, if you listen to the episode, and I want you to listen to the full interview because there's a lot of things that were said. I realized listening to the interview why he might be struggling to get progressive support. So I asked him about a bill, House Bill 596 or 956, I believe it is. And this bill in particular, I want to make sure I tell you the bill because I want to make sure you all can look it up for yourselves and get into it. So this bill in particular, House Bill 956, basically Malcolm Kenyatta proposed this bill. This was early this year. Basically, he wanted to push a bipartisan legislation that would advance the protections of public servants to include municipal workers. So this legislation came about. It would extend protections against aggravated assault for public servants if they are victims of physical violence to include the state's municipal workers. Malcolm Kenyatta, which shocking enough, he doesn't really do much legislation, but when he do, right, he noted that 39 other public service classifications, including state lawmakers, have stronger protections under the law. He said that it was past time for municipal workers to be added to the list. And so this is coming from the support of District 33. And now DC 33, District Council 33, that they are the sanitation workers. They represent these types of workers, right? What this bill would do is that we hear stories, right? Public servants, those who are serving doing this work. We hear stories of people being physically attacked. And what we hear is, and what we know, right, is that if an elected official, a public servant like elected official, gets physically attacked, the consequences for that assaulter is higher than if they attack a general civilian. There is a protection there. And in other words, by having a law like that, with a penalty like that, it actually makes a person think twice before they think about that kind of attack. Well, municipal workers, right, those DC 33 workers, there are people that feel like they can just physically assault them on the job. You could be picking up trash, doing sanitation work, and somebody could be upset and they can attack that person. And the level at which their stipulations on their crimes or what happens is not severe. It's not. A lot of people don't get much for that. No penalties, or they get a little slap on the wrist, or whatever the case might be. And so there's a double standard amongst the way in which justice is carried out. And somebody could say it's equitable justice and protection legally for these workers. So during the time of the strike, in the midst of the DC 33 strike, there were several people that wanted that it went through the Judicial Committee that advocated for this. Chris Rapp, who is pro-union, pro-worker, voted against this. And him and Malcolm Kenyatta had a beef. It's still a beef. They got smoke. Because Malcolm Kenyatta, even though he's got his issues, this legislation seemed to be something that the workers wanted. Seemed like he was on the right side of history for a change. Seemed like he was doing something that was not just self-serving. And in that pursuit, Chris Rapp and several of his white progressives in that Judicial Committee did not support his legislation. Now, the black progressives in the room, Latasha Mays and Andre Carroll, supported it. Rapp did not. And there has been some rifts amongst certain progressives and also even some people around DC 33 that are very much side-eyeing Chris Rabb for this. And so I asked him this question about it in my interview. You'll hear his response in full, but he said the most progressive of the Judicial Committee voted against it. Ken Cad and another individual. These individuals are white. They're not black. And he framed it as the most progressive amongst that Judicial Committee. And I thought that was interesting because I said most progressive. So are you questioning the progressiveness? Is that a litmus test? Like, I find it interesting that he did that and he said that. But I've heard from colleagues of his that they feel some type of way, that they felt like they were thrown under the bus by his remarks. They felt like what he said was shade, and they caught it. And it just reinforces why a lot of them are sitting on the sidelines, not ready to come out and support him. Because the critiques around Chris Rabb is that they say he's not a team player. They say, allegedly, these are all allegations from his colleagues, that he's a little too self-righteous. And that in his self-righteousness, he alienates people that want to help him. And so now that he's running for Congress, and he's still throwing shots at his own fellow colleagues, even those within the progressive space, he finds himself in this predicament. And so listening to the interview and listening to it, we start off about the question about progressives. And then later on throughout, I said, this is why he might have a hard time getting this support. But he says endorsements don't get votes. Because if they do, he said there would be a Mayor Helen Gim. Touche. However, I mean, is this necessarily the best way to go about it? How do you appeal to voters in this way? The infighting might turn people off. But what do I know? I haven't ran for office, but I just think he's going to have an interesting journey. His pathway of victory is that he just believes that he is the one that's going to fight and the one who has the receipts, he says, the track record of doing such. Morgan Cephas' question his efficacy on policy. For example, on the show, he mentioned that he pushed out an alternative legislation that would actually provide. So let me back up real quick. His rationale for why he didn't support the legislation, the Malcolm Kenyatta's legislation, right, proposal. He said he didn't support it because he felt like it was going to actually give tougher penalties and increase crime. And he said that he did not see any real protections in the value of it. Even though there felt like there was a contradiction there, because there's a man named Jonathan Brown that is the judge of elections. He won that seat. He's a young man who's arguably a progressive that has had conflict with Chris Rabb in the public, to the point where he has been blacklisted from going to certain town halls. He's had a ban on the grounds of Harrisburg. There's some confusion about whether he's banned off the premises or near Rabb's office or whatever. But he has some restrictions of his access to the Harrisburg building. I don't know if it's full or total or some. Now, Chris Rabb said in an interview that this individual tried to come into his private office. Now, some people argue, what is a private office in Harrisburg? Isn't the people's house? I mean, isn't the people allowed authorization? But he tried to imply that the reason why he did not, that this guy tried to come into his office, and that the reason why he had to file the complaints because he was worried about his safety. But I thought that was interesting because I found a contradiction there. You put these restrictions for a man to not physically assault you, and yet you had those protections because you're elected official. And so you say you don't see the point of the legislation to protect these municipal workers when these are the same protections that you currently have. And he was very critical about the protections by saying he doesn't have any protections, but you actually do, because an individual like Jonathan Brown, right? John Brown, who was someone who was critical of him, you forbade him from coming, and allegedly he never came to the private office. Security didn't even let him into the office space to actually critique, and he couldn't have been armed or anything, because think about the safety matters. You have to go through the metal detectors in order to get into the buildings. elected officials are very protected in their own spaces. To get inside of City Hall, there's like several entry points. Like you go through a lie detector test to get upstairs. Then once you get upstairs, there's another lie detector, not lie detector, metal detectors. There's several securities at various points. Like you just can't roll up in there. And so for him to say that while also acknowledging that he had to ensure his safety, you don't think municipal workers who don't even have metal detectors to protect them, you don't think that they should have some protections? Like, what harm will it make? So I thought that was an interesting contradiction. And I'm very curious to see how he continues to talk about these issues through the campaign trail. So that was interesting to me. But that brings me to my next segment. Thirsty candidates. There's a lot of thirsty candidates. Philly's thirstiest candidates right now, going for various seats. And what's been annoying about this is that a lot of them are going super early that they're announcing. I mean, there's candidates that have announced they're running for state rep. There's a guy running against Amin Brown, which I think is ridiculous because Amin Brown was at the Emerging Media Diversity Convention and he got PABJ a citation from Harrisburg. When city council members act like they were too busy to recognize this historic convention, State Representative Amin Brown came to the rescue, showed up in a suit. He wasn't his breezy gear, as he say. He showed up in a suit and presented a citation on a Friday. He was not at CBC weekend hobnobbing, which he could have done. He came down and showed up. And he's been doing that a lot. I will say that these last 2 years, the past year since he's been reelected, he has definitely been more active and engaged. The Breezy Mart alone has been a super success. He's been giving out lots of food to families that are in need. He's been doing a lot of resources. He's been doing a lot. Even though Harrisburg cannot get that budget done, that's on the Senate right now. Where's the damn budget? He is doing what he can with the resources he's had to help his constituents. He is very visible. He is very active. And he has this guy named LaRoche or something like that. I think his name is. I don't know. He's running against him. Never really heard of the guy. I thought the guy was in Jersey. When I heard about him, he was doing basketball youth camps around Camden and whatnot. I didn't know him to be a West Philly guy. His family's from Philly. He talks about his family being there, but I had never seen this dude in West Philly. I didn't even know he lived in Philly. And I live around Amin Brown's district. I've never really seen the dude. All I know is a couple of weeks ago, he started following me on Instagram, liking my pictures, liking my posts, commenting. And anytime, a straight guy do something like that, I'm like, what you want? He gonna want something. And surely enough, he just announced over the weekend that he is running for state, he's running for state representative. Why? Why? We already have a young black guy that's doing it. Like, why? Why? I mean, it's a democracy. Everybody deserves to run for office that is eligible and ethical, but this is a waste. It's a waste. It's a waste that people are doing this during, a year like this. It's just a waste. It's a waste of resources, waste of time. But this is what Democrats do. And then speaking of wasting time, you got that poll that came out. There was a poll that came out from the Black Leadership PAC, and they're talking about the candidates, right? They're running for Congress. Dr. Ayla Stanford was in the poll. Of course, Morgan Cephas, Sharif Street, Chris Rapp, a couple other candidates, right? They're in this. I don't know if Chris Rapp was in the poll, but I know the major players. I won't say Rapp is not a major player, but in order to do this poll, Katherine Gilmore Richardson was in that poll. Isaiah Thomas was. A lot of them were in that poll. And the reality is that in order to be on the poll, you got to request it. You got to ask for it. Makes me wonder, why did certain people actually be on that poll? Why did Kathy actually be on the poll? Why did Isaiah actually be on the poll? They're not running, but it's interesting that they wanted to know what those numbers look like, right? Name recognition, all that. Very interesting. Very interesting. I think about Resign to Run and that bill not being on the table at this point. I want to... It's interesting that Resign to Run is on the table because I think Resign to Run, the way that Isaiah's legislation initially was setting up, to what I've been hearing, is that it would have allowed for city council members to not have to resign to run for Congress. Interesting. Like they would have to resign to run for mayor. They would have to resign to run for other city roles, but they would not necessarily have to for stuff like Congress or whatever. There was interesting rules that was tricky with the language, but it keeps moving a little bit. The positioning shifts, like who can rise from what. It just seems like it's too hyper political. And I hear that they want the people to vote for it eventually. It keeps changing and it's not being introduced. So there's no need to go too much into it. But I just think to myself, like, if it would have passed, it would have been on the ballot for the general. And if it would have gotten that general, what that would have meant for certain city council members and their political prospects. It's just interesting to see how this plays out. But what I will say is, if I was Dr. Ayla Stanford, what are you doing? I thought she was going to announce during CBC weekend. Now it kind of feels like, was this just all a big about face? Is she actually going to run? Is it cold turkey? Because it's not like she's got that much time to wait. It's interesting to me. I mean, the momentum is building, but it seems like according to the polls, there's no real surefire candidate. It seems like everybody's still trying to figure it out. I mean, is there anybody exciting? Anybody standing out right now? It just seems interesting. I mean, Dr. Ayla Stanford has polled well with her story, and certain aspects about her is appealing to certain people, but I just don't know about polling data. Polls are just not like they used to be, at least. I don't know. I just feel like, in my opinion, one would argue that this race is already a lockup, but I could be wrong. There was a lot of interesting stuff going on CBC weekend. One of the big things that I noticed with candidates was a lot happening around Congressman Dwight Evans, who's retiring next year. And it's interesting because both Sharif Street and Morgan Cephas were both thirsting for photos and trying to create, I feel like, narratives around what it meant to be around Dwight Evans. And I will have to say, Morgan Cephas was definitely taking a bunch of pictures with him, and it was definitely giving. Even Sharif Street got a picture with him and said, had words of wisdom. It's like, what are those words of wisdom? Is that an endorsement? Oh, it's not? Okay, so what are y'all doing? But everybody just seemed to want to be on him like, Vacation at Bernie's. Like, it was giving very much like, y'all ain't, come on, and it was a lot of that posturing. And politics can be so annoying sometimes because it's like, how many pictures are you going to take with Dwight Evans shot? We get it. But okay. But be genuine though. Like some of it just felt a lot of disingenuous. Sharif Street took a picture with a chick in his hand. It's like, what are y'all doing? Like, is it monkey see, monkey do? I see this person doing, now I gotta one up them. It was a lot of just showboating with that. And I just was like, come on, y'all. Just run your race. But, this is the fun of politics. You got to observe all the silly little intertwined things. None of it means anything. It's just that kind of stuff that people do internally and talk about. And, because earnestly speaking, we get into the nitty gritty and the petty. But here we are. So I do want to also mention, to me, maybe the thirstiest of candidates right now. There's a guy running against, I don't even know his name. It doesn't even matter. He's running against my current state rep, which is Rick Krajewski. Krajewski, I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't say his last name often, but he is my current state rep, and he has a challenger. Some guy, I don't know who he is, but I know he's created a social media page and he's been trying to get out there. Seems to be an older black guy. Almond Brown's opponent seems to be a little younger. He looks a little older though, but they're like young-ish. If anything, the guy's definitely under 30. I mean, not under 30, under 40. Might be early 40s, maybe. Because that black don't be cracking sometimes. But he seems like a youngish guy. I think Almond's younger than him though, and more experienced than him in the legislation for that matter. But it's interesting to see how that play out. But the thirstiest candidate though, is this guy, Jalon Alexander. Look, Jalon Alexander does not seem like a bad guy. I just want to start off by saying I don't think he's a bad person. He ran for city council at large, no success there. But now he is running, he's exploring. He's doing an exploratory run his exploratory run is, you know, very much interesting. He is doing, I guess, what they call an exploratory race in the 5th district against Jeffrey J. Young Jr., in a Democratic primary for North Philadelphia for city council. Jalen Alexander, Jelon Alexander is younger than me. He's 32 years old. So yeah, he's young. But he wants to take on Jay Young, who is under 40. Jay Young is 39 years old. So this is the battle of the 30s. Now, Jay will be in his 40s by the time we get to, of course, the 2027 primary. But like, dude, what are we doing? We haven't gotten to the primary year yet. Exploratory, like you're considering it. He's an attorney right now, you know. He's accomplished some things. The brother's doing some good things, but it's like, what are we doing? And I know people got their concerns with Jay Young, but my whole thing is, if you're going to do something like this, why do it so publicly? Because it can create a situation where you can get a target on your back, you know, a target as far as your political attributes. I mean, one of the things that concerned me about Jelon Alexander's campaign for at large was that he thought that preventing crime was the introduction of drones. And I just felt to myself, that is very concerning, surveilling Black communities. And he's Black, but like, you think that that's like drone technology surveilling Black communities? Like, do you understand the problematicness of that? Like, I get the argument, oh, it could prevent crime, but it's like, there's other things that them drones could be doing. And do you want our Black and brown communities to be surveilled in that type of way? It's like giving police state energy. And it's like, okay, Mr. High Tech, but like, is this practical? Have you talked to people about the social justice implications of that? The implications of that. Like, that was like a cringy thing for me. I did not vote for him. And part of it was that I had concerns about that logic. But I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't know. But again, everybody deserves a run, whether they are good or not. But also, what's very telling to me is the fact that people are just not even caring about folks' races. Like, it's just really wild to me that people will not stop focusing on the goals, keeping their eyes on the prize. Like, we have a judicial race that we have judges that need to be retained right now. 3 important judges need to be retained right now. And so for folks to be sitting up here spending all this energy worried about congressional races, there are situations where what these judges do on the state level is a big deal. And so let's talk about these judge seats. Superior Court, the Supreme Court retention. We got to, okay? Christine Donahue, Kevin M. Doherty, and David Wetch. I think it's Wetch, I think it is. The 3 of them need to be retained in the Supreme Court. We got to make sure they're retained, because if we don't, there's going to be some serious situations. There's common plea retention. There is the Commonwealth Court election. There is the Commonwealth Court retention for Michael Wojak. There's a retention for the Superior Court for Alice Beck DuBois. But we got to get in there and we got to retain these judges, because that's a big deal. And if we don't do that, it's going to be a serious problem. So keep your eyes on the prize. It's too many people jumping out with races in front of other races. I'm not interested in discussing anything about city council right now. I'm barely interested in talking about this congressional race. But, you know, I know it's coming, right? State reps. I'm not talking about state reps either right now, to be honest. I'm not going to really consider these races. I understand Congress is big because they got to raise money. There's going to be a big deadline in October to let us know about somewhat of the viability of the current candidates announcing. But we got to see where the money's at. We got to see where the viability is. We're going to see what's going to happen. But if you are a person running for state rep against an incumbent, I don't care until after the general election. Okay, after November around PA Society, I'll look into it more. Congressional races, I'm interested in because this is hot. If you think about city council, don't even talk to me until, let me guess, maybe, depending on if you serious, after the primary of next year. But honestly, I might even say fuck that, after the midterms, because we got to get past the midterms. You're not going to take up the bandwidth talking about these other races because it's just pointless to me. So that's my thoughts on that. For this week's Ask Ernest, you all have been asking me a lot about several things, actually. One thing in particular that's been coming up lately is more of a personal question, but, the conversation about navigating friendships and loyalty. You all have asked me so many questions about how do I don't know what's going on with y'all. Y'all in that new fourth quarter, we in that final quarter of the year, and a lot of y'all are having some thoughts about relationships and things, but a lot of people have asked me questions along the lines of loyalty, friendships. Someone had DM'd me and said, you've navigated betrayal in relationships quite seamlessly. How do you keep your peace and stay hopeful to meet new friends after being with folks that backstabbed you? They said some other things, but I'm not going to name names, but y'all can fill in the gaps with the names. And so one of the things that I will say to you is that, one is that you don't lose yourself behind other people who've lost their damn mind when it comes to you. Don't lose yourself. Don't let people steal your joy, steal your graciousness, steal your kindness. Preserve it, maintain it, protect it, but don't restrict it. Too many people oftentimes, I feel like when something bad happens, they close. And I think that there is a time where you may have to reset and take a break a little bit to reset and reprioritize, but don't let people steal that from you. Recognize that everybody's on a case-by-case basis. And so I have learned that I'm not matching people's energy, I'm matching people's effort. I think when you match people's energy can be so low and so degrading that to match it will just make you just become them. And that's not what we're doing. So I don't match people's energy because my energy is my energy. But I do match people's effort. So if you don't show up, if you don't engage, if you don't check in, if you don't keep the conversation flowing, if you don't stay active with me, I'm not going to stay active with you. Because I'm going to channel that activeness with people that give that activeness back to me. Reciprocity is a two-way street, or it can be bigger, but at least a two-way street. And what I feel like I hear from so many people is them consistently talking about all the things they do and don't get anything in return. Let me tell you something. I'm not saying be transactional, but you should monitor. Monitor how much you're putting in. And if you feel like you're giving so much and feel unappreciated, if you feel like you're being taken advantage of, if you feel like people are just not meeting you there, then you take a step back. What I've learned is that with people who I don't consider a friend, whatever I give, whatever I share, if it comes back, it comes back. If it don't, it don't. But I don't have any regrets. I will never have regrets about what I do for the public at large. I will never have regrets for the kindness or the generosity that I give to associates. But I also believe in tiers. So if you want premium package, Ernest, you give premium package yourself. If you're expecting me to give you 110%, you better be giving me that as well. And I'm only giving that to people that are downright loyal. There's a lot of people that expect me to give them so much because they see what I do for others. But they think that they can be half-assed with me. And what I've learned is I'm not begging. I used to tell people what they weren't doing in my life. I don't argue. I don't go back and forth anymore. I look at what people do. I don't take it personal. I just take it. And I just go, okay. And I just move accordingly. I just go, duly noted, and I'm good. I'll give y'all a little example. I ain't gonna name no names because we don't gotta do that. It's a little close. But there was somebody, I wouldn't consider them a close friend. They're not in my inner circle. So anybody I'm talking about that you see me in pictures with, they're my people. But there's somebody that is in my professional network. It is a she. And they decided, this is a person I done a lot for. And they've been nice too. It was good when it was good. But this person decided that they wanted to, and they did this literally like 2 weeks ago. So I'm a little, this was like 2 weeks ago, so maybe I'm telling. But you know what? They decided that they had an event. It was an event that they was a part of or worked with. They didn't invite me, and I would have not gone anyway, and that's not even the basis of this, because it is what it is. I wasn't even able to go anyway. But they invited somebody that they knew. Because I can't even tell y'all who the person is, because y'all going to see who the person is. Y'all going to put two and two together. So y'all, because y'all, you listen to Ernestly, y'all do y'all detective sleuth. So I can't even tell you who they invited. But they invited somebody I definitely don't like. And that person don't like me. We don't like each other. And I've actually mentioned him on my podcast, this person. So y'all put y'all little Inspector Gadget clues. But they invited this person and their spouse to this event. I wouldn't go to the event because I'm not crazy about the event. But it's the principle of the whole thing. They invite this person. They know that this person is somebody who's a big hater, not just to me, but to some of the circles and organizations that we share together. They invite this person. They know the situation, knows it very well, but they invited them. And they didn't tell anybody they did, but the person is messy. They went on their Instagram. They tagged them and said, "Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it." I said, wow. And the gag is they knew. They knew. The person who made the post that said, "Thank you for inviting me," they knew that I was going to see it and other people in my circle was going to see it. And they wanted to be messy. And you got it. It's the only thing you got. You ain't got no, let me be quiet. But they got it. Look, ain't no tripping. Because you make a fool of me, you ain't going to make a fool of me again. So we saw each other at a certain event over the weekend, me and this person. And I gave them the classic cold shoulder. I didn't say anything. I didn't be mean. I didn't do nothing. I just, hi, hello, how you doing? Bye. Not really giving no hug. Not doing much. Kept it professional. Kept it cordial. But I'm not doing extra. I'm not losing my character. But I saw it and I said, duly noted. I don't repeat myself. I'm not explaining myself. If the person comes to me and say, "Hey, can we talk?" Sure. But I'm not about to sit up and do all the back and forth. At this point, I think everybody in my circle, everybody, even not in my circle, know my no-nos. No certain people I don't deal with. And if you want to do that, that's fine. Here's the thing. You can go and choose whoever you want to be cool with. But if you want to be close with me, you want to be in the bestie, you want to be on the winning circle, you ain't going to be able to do that with me doing that. It's a lot of people that want to back and forth. There's a lot of people that want to play both sides. There's a lot of people that want to do all that. Listen, you're entitled to do that. But don't expect to be invited to my birthday. Don't expect to be put in that. Don't expect that. Don't expect that. Doesn't mean I hate you and no. But I just don't, I'm not going to fuck with you like that. And I'm not about to make it a whole thing. It's just more of I see it. And so my advice to you all is that in your life, if you make something clear and you've made it crystal motherfucking clear, don't go back and forth with people. Just move accordingly. And continue to shower and show love and show up for the people that respect your boundaries, respect you and what you're doing. You don't understand. There are family members and people in my life that I've known for years that did not respect certain boundaries. And they made a choice. And I made a choice too. And I think sometimes we as the nice people in the space, the ones who get taken advantage of and get pushed over, people think that we don't have our boundaries. They don't think that we have the no-no. And you're going to fuck around and you're going to find out. And people get shocked. They go, I can't believe you did what you did. I can't believe you thought that you could do that to me and I wasn't going to respond. I just think that you think I'm a walkover rug? The fuck? Like, we got to be more intentional. So when you get people that want to play both sides, you tell people pick a side or I pick one for you. And once you pick it, you can't come back. Stand your fucking ground unless the person is on some other shit. Like they come back and I don't know. But I don't go back and forth. You betray my trust multiple times. You keep lying. You keep being sneaky. You keep doing shit like that. I'm good. Go play with somebody else. Go play with somebody else. If you can't be real with me, you can't be honest with me when I'm an open book and I'm accessible as fuck, fine. And that's what the problem with some of y'all. Y'all keep going back. I don't do the going back story. Y'all notice that? When I'm done with certain people, I'm done. That's how Libras move. It may take us a while to get there, but once we get there, once we get the evidence, once we see what we see, we can't unsee it. You better ask my friends. People will tell me, why are you talking to? I said, listen, I see everything. But when I decide to go, I'm out. When I decide to go, I'm good. I'm good. It will take a lot. You're going to have to tell me something I don't know. Somebody had you at gunpoint and forced you to invite. What you had? What was going on? But you better tell somebody. But see, a real friend will tell you before it even go down. I can't tell you how many times I've had real friends be like, listen, I got to go to this event. This person going to be there. I just want you to know this is what it was. I do that with my friends. There's some people like, look, I'm going to this thing. Child, you know I don't fuck with this person like that, but I got to go. It's a professional endeavor. I'm telling you right now, this is what it's given. Transparency, communication. And people be knowing. You just give friends a heads up. It ain't even on that type of time. You can respect that. Because a lot of times, sometimes because of my friends in my circle, we a little high profile. So we're going to be in some rooms with some people we don't like. You know? It is what it is. But you got to be transparent. You got to communicate that. You got to let people know where you stand. We got to be on the same page. And if you respect the person enough, you will never surprise a person. You never blindside a person. You're considerate. You're thinking of them like they're thinking of you. You're matching the effort. So that's my Ask Ernest this week. A lot of y'all ask me similar questions about how to navigate relationships and things. That is how you do it. Friendships, professional work, match the effort. If the effort is high, meet them there. If it's low, stay where you at. And that's my Ask Ernest this week. So I want to talk about movies. Movies. Oh my goodness. We in Oscar season, y'all. Okay? Everybody's talking about the movies out right now. The box office is box officing. The big box office movie of the week was One Battle After Another. Yes, Leonardo DiCaprio has another number one at the box office. People went to go see the movie. And a lot of people are saying it's the movie, it's the definitive film, you know, and it's a record debut for Paul Thomas Anderson. This is Leonardo DiCaprio's 11th movie to open at the box office. His 11th $200 million plus opener. Leonardo DiCaprio has had 11 movies open at 20 million or over at the box office. It's a big deal. You know, it made $22.4 million at the box office, a global haul of $48.5 million. And they're saying it's on the it will be determined down the road off of if it's going to be the ultimate financial fate of this. This is a Warner Brothers film. The production was $130 million to $140 million. But so far, it's gotten $48.5 million so far on the opening weekend. So it's got a little ways to go. But a lot of people seem to like it. Post-Track gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's doing well. The film is, people are saying it's going for it. It was interesting. It had a lackluster audience score. Well, hold on. Let me take that back. Deadline reports that it is not another bloated, high-priced affair. They was comparing it to Joker All Day Fall. That was a big failure. A Big Bold Beautiful Journey or Amsterdam. They fell short at the box office. They said the film has more going for it. Evident in the cinema store. It's a cinema score. It has an A cinema score, which is not bad for a long ass film like that. It was over 2 hours long. And it had a 74% definite recommend. And amongst men that is 18 to 25, they showed up at 32%, gave it a big A plus. So the Gen Z men are feeling a Paul. They're feeling a Paul Thomas Anderson film. Big deal. So Leonardo DiCaprio did his big one. The star power is big. This is giving, a lot of people have some critiques though. There's questions about why no one went to go see it. It's a lot of interesting critiques. Some people said that people didn't go see it. They said it has a budget approaching that of a movie about superheroes, dinosaurs, wizards, or race cars. It's big and it's bold, but they said it was an unknown quantity. A lot of people didn't understand it. Or maybe that's why a lot of people didn't see it. They said it's another modern masterpiece, but it's difficult. It's a difficult movie to market. How do you market that movie despite how good it is? Maybe word of mouth is going to help it. So we'll see. Some people said the movie was long and boring. The critics loved it, but some people thought it was a slog. It's just it's interesting. It was number one at the box office, but it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out down the road. But speaking of movies that are actually kicking ass at the box office, The Smashing Machine is dropping next week. This is the movie with The Rock. Some early reviews have come in. I told you a little bit about this. This is a movie with Emily Blunt. Everybody's saying that The Rock is, Dwayne Johnson, might be trying to get an Oscar nomination for this performance. I've heard some interesting reviews. Some people said that this is The Rock's best acting role. I will tell you personally, I agree. I think this is his best acting role. But I will say the movie did not pack. I want people to see it. I want you to see The Rock's performance. I think the movie's worth seeing The Rock's performance. The movie overall, the trailer, it's if you've seen The Fighter, I would just say The Fighter is better. But The Rock is interesting. I will say The Rock is interesting. Emily Blunt doesn't really she's good, but she's always in this supporting actress thing. I'm so happy she finally got an Oscar nomination for a performance in Oppenheimer. But Emily Blunt has, when are we going to give her some more leading roles? I would like to see more leading roles. Because her supporting roles are fine, but she's always playing like the cute girlfriend or the wife or the period piece. I don't know. It's just, I wish there was more to do with Emily Blunt. She has so much talent. Ever since The Devil Wears Prada, when I saw her in that, talk about a screen stealer. Like, she killed that performance and really should have got a Best Supporting Actress nomination for that, honestly. I thought her performance in The Devil Wears Prada was superb. And she's been a consistently good actress. She was in Into the Woods, The Great Victorian. That performance I thought could have got an Oscar nomination. She's played some great British parts. She played Mary Poppins Returns, which is stellar. To do a Mary Poppins remake, not remake, but to do a sequel in this way. I mean, another performance that could have warranted her a nomination. The great cast. There was a great cast that, that movie came out 7 years ago. Lin-Manuel Miranda played in it, and he was great. So, Dick Van Dyke came back. Meryl Streep was in it. It was a great film. It was a fun film. But she needs, I just feel like she needs more. So that film is coming out next week. Sinners is coming back to theaters for Halloween, which means it's trying to really push an Oscar contender. I think it's going to get a bunch of nominations, y'all. I'm a little worried about its ability to win. I don't know who's getting Best Actor. Michael B. Jordan will be a great lead for nominations. I think Sinners will get nominated. Best Director, I think Paul Thomas Anderson might be the front runner right now. I've heard mixed reviews. I mean, everybody's really liking Ryan Coogler, but I feel like Paul Thomas Anderson with this film, I don't know. I'm seeing a Best Picture front runner. I'm saying it's one battle after another. I don't know. I'm hearing some interesting reviews about this film, but anytime you get a front runner, anything can change. So I don't know. But Sinners is coming back around Halloween. They're expecting to do a re-release to get the people going back to see it and be reminded of how great the film is. But it's very telling how it's going to play out. And then before I get to music, J-Lo is gunning for Best Supporting Actress. You know, Kiss of the Spider Woman, it's out there. She's going for Best Supporting Actress. And they're actually putting it in a musical category because it is a musical. So they are going to put it in musical category. So that should be interesting. Sinners is going in a drama category, not musical category. So there's an interesting chance to see how that's going to play out. So let's stay woke on it. But I'm excited. The season is gearing up. So we'll see how it play out. With music this week, I just want to start off by saying that women have been saving music this season. I mean, we got Cardi B, Sarah McLachlan, Doja Cat dropped the album, Mariah Carey is back. You know, the girls are just bringing the music. Where are the boys? Where are the guys? What's going on? Where are the guys at? Like, we haven't seen anything. You know, Cardi B just scored her second #1 album. You hear that? You hear that, Joe? Her second #1 album. Am I the Drama? You know, did his big one. And, you know, she came through. 9 Inch Nails came in with their highest charting album in over a decade. But she got it. She did 200,000 equivalent album equivalents. Not bad. You know, this is it is the biggest week for a R&B hip hop album by a woman. It is her second full-length project. Invasion of Privacy came out in 2018. She did it. She did it. She did it. And by the way, we got tour. We got tickets. We got tickets. We did get tickets. It's going to be a nice time. Myself, Mr. Johnson, we're going to see Am I the Drama. We're going to go to the new Xfinity Mobile Stadium. Is it stadium? Is it arena? Arena. Because the Wells Fargo Center, they call it arena. But this is, we're not a stadium, but we're going to be at the Xfinity Mobile, arena to see her do her big one. So we're excited. We're excited. You know, people are wondering if she can pull it off with the pregnancy. We're not doing all that. But she sold. She did 200,000. She did 200,000. In 2025, that promotional run, she did her big one. It's good. It's good to see. Really happy. I think it's been a big deal to see her album do really well, to see the buzz with it. Sarah McLachlan's album, you know, it didn't chart as high as I would have liked. You know, I think she's got a tour coming. You know, she's pushing the album along. The reviews for the album were mid. But, you know, I was wondering how the album did. And it seemed like it cracked in the top 10 debut. Which is, telling. But also, this is one who had a career for nearly 40 years. So the fact that she made an album for the fans is something to celebrate. She made an album for fans. And, you know, it's, yeah. I think some of this might have been with the appearances. I think she performed on Jimmy Kimmel recently. And so I Better Broken, she performed it, which I thought was a smart move. But yeah, I'm happy she gave an album for the fans. She's gonna be performing at the Met in Philly. I'm gonna try to go to the show if I can with my schedule. I'm gonna try to go. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that she put out an album. So other albums that came out. So, because next week's gonna be very interesting. Next week, as you all know, Taylor Swift returns. We'll be talking about Taylor Swift in a minute. But let's talk about Doja Cat's album, Vi. It's cool. It's an 80s themed album. The girl can make hits. It was all right. It's not her best. It's not bad either. This is one of those albums where I just feel like I don't know. Did we need a Doja Cat album right now? I don't know. I'm not saying I'm not a Doja Cat fan. I do like some of her music. I'm not like a crazy obsessive fan. I just feel like she's one of those artists that she's doing a lot, but it's also just not grabbing me as much. Like I do appreciate the songs when they come on the radio. I do appreciate it. It's giving me Katy Perry. And I'm talking Katy Perry, like not now Katy Perry, but Katy Perry like after Teenage Dream, where, she had Dark Horse, she had those hits after like Prism or whatever. But it gives me that energy where it's like, she's good. She's going to always have a cute little banger, but I'm not running to her. She's not horrible, but she's not, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. I feel like Doja Cat is forced a little bit. And this album, it's good. It's okay. It's safe. It's a safe album. Like there's nothing about it that's disruptive. And the type of artist that Doja Cat thinks she is, what she produces does not align with what she thinks she is. Like I feel like she always acts like she's just this bombastic, loud, disruptive artist. And I feel like she does a lot on the red carpet, but it doesn't align with her music. Her music is a little bit more dialed in and safe. And it works for her because, she came in the game getting number one hits and things. So I see it, but it's like, it's like, okay. Mariah's album, Here For It. Here for it all. Here for it all, the album. Several takeaways from this album. It's good. It is a good album. It is good. For Mariah to be in the game for nearly 40 years and still give music that is just really good. I think Caution is better than this, to be honest. But I will say that this album was a pleasant surprise because the way that Mariah's been showing up lately on performances, I thought that the lack of energy, the low energy that she's been giving was going to be this album. This album does her justice. She really sings. There's ballads. There's a mix of everything in her discography. If you're a real lamb, which I don't think I'm a lamb. I don't consider myself a lamb. I do enjoy some Mariah songs, but I don't consider myself a lamb. And she is an icon. She is a legend. You can't take that from Mariah. I feel like she took a lot of different songs and put it in this album. Like songs from different eras of her career. You get that. So if you're a fan, you're going to really appreciate this album. There's certain lyrics and sounds that you're going to remember. Her and Anderson .Paak, whatever they doing as a couple, listen, you can feel it, honey. Okay? You can feel it. You can hear Anderson .Paak's influence on this album. The way that the production is. It's a very mid-tempo album. It's very breeze. It's really a quick list. It's like around 49 minutes. But let me tell y'all something. Anderson .Paak is in this album. He's producing this music. He is playing guitar in the background. Like you can hear his musical sound. And what I will say that I appreciate about Anderson .Paak's influence is that it made me realize that he was really the true mastermind behind Silk Sonic. A lot of people, because Bruno Mars is a larger name, thought that the Silk Sonic essence was largely Bruno. But I tell y'all, Bruno is a very cute culture vulture. He is somebody that is going to be in the room, soak everything up like a sponge, and give it back. And I don't know if I should say culture vulture, but he is definitely doing cultural appreciation. Like this guy, I don't really think has an original vibe. Like he is just somebody who is a big student. Anderson .Paak is the art and soul of Silk Sonic. That is what I realized listening to this album, that a lot of the musicology of Silk Sonic, all of the Leave the Door Open, all that music, that was Silk. That was him. He was what Silk Sonic made Silk. He's a silkiness in Silk Sonic. He is a silk to Silk Sonic. I think the sonicness came from Bruno Mars. But what makes Silk Sonic silky is Anderson .Paak. And I think that production and sound throughout the album, throughout Here For It All, Mariah, I think the harmony and relationship, I say, oh, I see what's going on here. They're a cute little couple. They're cute. Anderson .Paak, I've met him in person. I'm not going to say that. Let me not be. I was going to say, I'll save that for the little brothers and my close friends, what I was going to say about that. But I will say, he's a nice guy. I'll say that. He's a nice guy. He's charming. I can see it. I can see it. I can see why Mariah. I can see that. Mariah, listen, he is 39 years old. Mariah is in her mid 50s, okay? She said, I'm old enough to get the father and the son. She chose the son. Okay, Mariah, I see you out there, Miss Cougar. She like him young, don't she? Because even Nick Cannon, before you slip. Nick Cannon was a young bull when he was with her. He's, their age gap. Nick Cannon is 44. He's her ex-husband. She's dating a man that's 5 years younger than her ex-husband. And mind you, Mariah was like, Nick Cannon was, I think, how old when he married Mariah? But see, he was, Mariah, she don't see age. She doesn't have birthdays, she say. Mariah's 56. Mariah's 56. So there is a 17-year-old age gap. And between her and Nick is a 12-year age gap. Not that bad. This is the difference between Jay-Z and Beyonce? Oop. But it's not that bad. Now, so Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl fiasco. Who was performing at the Super Bowl? Seems like nobody wants to perform at the Super Bowl. Cardi B don't want to do it. It looks like they're not calling Drake, clearly. Adele, they was talking about Adele. Adele don't want to do it. And I don't even think Adele is Super Bowl material, to be honest. She's a great artist, but I don't think that was I don't know. The tea about Taylor Swift apparently is that she didn't want to do it because she found out that Miss Swift says she can't be able to get any of the licensing of or own her film. She's all about owning the rights to her stuff. She won't be able to own any of the footage or anything for it, and she can't use the market her stuff in anything. It'll be NFL property. She's like, oh, fuck no. She understands she can't get paid, but she wanted some, privilege of her work. And so the Super Bowl is in a really weird conundrum because it's like, who y'all gonna find to do this? Are y'all gonna just get a hodge, like a gumbo, get a bunch of different artists to come back and do something? Because this is not good. Even Taylor Swift was considering it, and I thought she was gonna do it. Remember, I told you I was predicting it, but the deal wasn't dealing, so now she's out. And that's messed up because NFL, y'all could have gave Taylor some type of rights because she's the reason why y'all have an increase in young women watching the NFL. There's a reason, like Taylor Swift going to games used to be like every time they put the camera on her, and she didn't choose for the camera to be on her, they put the camera on her because it was going to make money, it was going to get buzz. So you mean to tell me y'all will use her likeliness, her presence, her everything she's brought to the hype around the Super Bowl, and y'all can't get her the rights to own this shit? Just stupid. The NFL still, look at them, the plantation politics. This is what happens. You lay down with dogs, you get fleas. Even Taylor Swift can't even get nothing in the Super Bowl. Like, come on, y'all. A mess. As far as TV goes, I am excited because one of my favorite shows is in its 5th season, is returning on October 1st on Wednesday. I'm tuning in. Abbott Elementary returns and is one of the only sitcoms that I watch religiously. I've seen every single episode of Abbott Elementary. I've not missed an episode. Keep going, y'all. We got to get y'all syndicated. Get past 100 episodes. I've watched every single episode of Abbott Elementary, and I try to watch each episode the week of. Happy the show is going strong. Other shows can't say the same. Queer Eye for the Straight Guy is finally over. Thank goodness. Y'all know I can't stand Cuomo Brown. Well, he can't stand me, actually, but then I can't stand him. But Cuomo Brown, that whole show was done. It's long overdue, y'all. It's long overdue. Queer Eye for the Straight Guy has changed so many cast members. I never really watched it. I felt like the premise was a little performative. It's dated itself. Like the idea of like, oh, look at these queer people, these queer gay men helping straight people navigate their livelihoods and make their lives better. I just didn't like the premise of the show because I was like, I get what they were doing, trying to normalize relationships between straight people and queer people. And I guess that in the way olden days of the early 2000s, that kind of shit was fine, right? When we didn't have rights. But once we started to get certain rights and shit, it's like, baby, what the fuck? I got issues. I need a cis eye for the queer guy because I need y'all to come in here and get my laws and get my shit done. I need y'all to, protect my rights. I need some cishet folks to come over here and have my motherfucking back, right? Like, what the fuck? Like, straight people, like, I just didn't like the absurditude of it all. This idea of, oh, maybe you can see the humanity of gay people if they can help you with your problems. As if we weren't already doing that in the church and doing that shit on the airlines and shit. Like, come on, let's be real. Okay? Queer people been here. We've been
having the queer eye for the straight guy in the sense of helping them with their lives and relationships and advice and shit. But I just don't like that sense. Like, I think that fuel a lot of the gay best friends. Like when you watch some of these old shows, they age bad because they always have the gay guy being the gay person, being the friend. Where's his lover? Where's his sex life? Let me tell you something. I'm main character energy in this motherfucker. I am not a supporting role. I'm not a sidekick. It's main character energy over here. Now, when I came to college, it was like that. I felt like in certain circles I was in, people tried to treat me as he's my funny gay friend. He's my gay friend that's going to help me with that. And when I started hearing people say that shit, like, bitch, I'm not your stylist. The fuck? What you talking about? Like, we're not doing that. You know, I can't tell you how many of them used to want me to help them with their relationships. Now, granted, I had straight friends that when I was single, look, it was reciprocal. We gave advice. We helped each other out with the Trey and the boys. We both talked about boys together and navigate that shit. But some of these girls used to never have the time for me. They didn't care about what I had going on. They never cared to even ask. But whatever they had going on, I had to stop, drop, and roll. I'm tired of that shit. Tired of it. So, you know, in this day and age, I'm main character energy. I'm not about to sit up here and be playing second fiddle for straight folks. So, yeah, no. So outside of that, the other shows that got canceled was Catfish. Catfish got canceled after 9 seasons, y'all. And what's interesting because I was looking at Neve and his castmate, you know, Neve and them. They were talking a lot about you know, their show and the cast, you know, the show, because Catfish had a lot. The show has evolved. You know, we think about, you know, Max, and, you know, it was Max, and then the show, you know, evolved, you know, it was an interesting moment, you know, and the show used to be good. It taught people, I mean, people said that the show aged, right? Like, oh, the show aged, you know, no one needs, you know, Catfish anymore. They say, you know, no one needs it anymore. We know how to do reverse Google search and stuff. But what people don't realize is that it's, you know, it used to be Neve and Max and Cammy, and then Cammy left. It's about 242 episodes of the show based on that documentary. But like, one thing that Neve brought up is that Catfish could have still worked because of AI. Like now, people are using AI to create these relationships and being catfished in a unique way through AI. And I was like, wow, I didn't even think about that. Like the new Catfish isn't selling photos. It could be AI. Like the way in which a lot of people are being used, like voice messaging. They're getting AI to do voices and act like they're the person and send messages and be a whole nother person and shit. So I wonder if the rise of Catfish through AI might change the need of a show like that to come back. Because Neve then decided to be a real estate developer at a firm that his father was a part of. So now he's doing real estate and selling property. Like, damn, must be tough. But it's very interesting to see it, you know, to see how that plays out. So we'll be there. Now, one show, this special on Netflix, I don't know if you've seen this trailer, but I am telling y'all now, October 17th, okay? Friday, October 17th. There is a Netflix movie called The Perfect Neighbor. It's a documentary. And I don't want to tell too much, but it's based on a true story. And it involves a woman like a Karen who kept calling the police in her neighborhood pertaining to the kids playing outside. Like she was a deranged Karen in a neighborhood, a diverse neighborhood. And the movie's called The Perfect Neighbor. And it talks about how she kept antagonizing. And eventually an incident takes place, a confrontation takes place, and it changes everything. To the point that the community uprises. There's a court case, there's a trial, there's all kind of the drama. It is juicy. I saw that trailer and I said, I need to watch this ASAP. It's called The Perfect Neighbor and it's on Netflix. It comes out and debuts October 17th. I am telling you now, everybody's going to be talking about this. And if you have not seen it, if you have not seen the trailer, go look up the trailer. But it is must-see TV. So, we're coming into October. Cannot wait. There's going to be a lot of surprises, a lot of things coming up. We're officially into fall. We're in Libra season. I am just taking every single day, you know, one battle after another, as that movie said, but I'm taking every day with stride.
and just gratitude overall. Like, just gratitude. I'm blessed, and I am just, there's a sense of like relief, you know. I had some big goals, and some big ambitions these past couple of weeks, and just to be able to see the fruits of the labor, the work, and a lot of things begin to harvest. And this fall, fall is the season of harvest. Fall is my favorite season, of the year. It's my favorite season. October is my favorite month because of the weather, because of just the level of reflection. I think I can look at, as the year begins to transition, I can be able to look at, you know, a way of tracking. We're in that final fourth quarter. And so it's an opportunity of reflection. It's also an opportunity to really reset and get things geared for the next year, but also be able to look at, you know, what's worked and what hasn't worked. And I think looking at this year, I just got a level of clarity and relief, and just seeing stuff, you know, that felt risky just happen and go off without a hitch. And I never doubt myself, but you always, you know, is always thinking about it, you know? And so I'm just happy it's come together. And, you know, October is going to be a great month, and there's so many great things on horizons and so much uncertainty in the world, but it all works itself out. And I'm super excited about October because it is officially going to be Earnest Month. Well, I'm not that dude. I'm going to do a couple of days, but, you know, it is going to be a stellar month. And as always, be well and be best. Earnestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Earnestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.